Back to another live stream. I know I haven't done it in like a day or two, which I'm gonna try to do a lot more of it. To keep growing the channel, I want to drop some of the videos I'm working on and stuff like that. And yeah, today in this video, I'm going to be talking more about the companies and stuff like that, like computer companies and AMD versus Nvidia and about AI. And we're just going to have like a good discussion about AMD versus Nvidia. If you don't know what AMD is, it's a computer company, a chip making company. They're one of the leading innovators in computer chip making for gaming and for computers and AI. And Nvidia is also one of the the main leading computer company in AI and chip manufacturing and stuff like that. But a lot of people are sleeping on AMD. It does have a good GPU and CPU combination, both high performance and stuff like that. We're gonna wait for some more people to get in here, but hope everyone's having a good Thursday or whenever you're watching this. But yeah, welcome back to the live stream. If you're new here, we're discussing AMD versus Nvidia. Now they're both on the stock market. Obviously everyone knows this probably, but they're also computer manufacturing companies. And one thing about Nvidia is they've been getting all the attention in AI and stuff like that. Honestly, if any company is ever going to be in like a, like the internet bubble or whatever we had in the early 2000s, I think that there could be like an AI bubble or whatever, because all these companies are getting overvalued and stuff like that. And I hate to say it, but I think Nvidia could be possibly like the main company that's hit by an AI type of bubble. I'm only bringing up the bubble because I think lots of companies can go into bubbles, especially like, there was the internet bubble in the early 2000s and the late 90s and stuff like that. Now I think that there can be a AI bubble, possibly. I'm not saying 100%, but you do got to think. I think Nvidia's market cap, the value of the company is like $2 or $3 trillion, which is a lot of money. I'm not saying that they're overvalued or anything, but they might be, possibly, considering Apple has been around has been around much longer than them. But it doesn't mean they're 100% overvalued. I mean, they do have a lot of good chip manufacturing and AI development. And let me know where you guys are coming from inside the United States, outside the United States. If you're new to the channel, drop me a comment if you can. Let me know what you think about Nvidia or AMD. A lot of people I know are want to get some Nvidia stock because it's dropping. I mean, the whole stock market's dropping. But besides that, we're mostly just talking about the computer part of these companies and the business, of course. But this isn't like a stock review or anything like that. But we can give it a review if you want my opinions on it. But welcome back to the channel. Also, Trump versus the people. We're talking about that. But yeah, it's an interesting time we're living in with AMD and Nvidia, because no one really knew about, who knew about AI and stuff like that in 2006, 2004. I mean, I believe in 2004, AMD was only like a 40-cent stock, but who would have known? And, who even knew what AI was back then, honestly? Like, who knew? There was no chat GPT, there was none of that kind of stuff. Now we got so much more stuff going on. We got chat GPT, we got Grok, we got DeepSeek, we got a billion new AIs, and we got AI on Facebook, Facebook has an AI, which I think is dumb. Apple has an AI, which I think is very stupid. I'm not going to use Apple's AI for anything. It's just kind of creepy being there. I don't even have the update on my phone, honestly, of the Apple AI. Does anyone actually like the Apple AI? Or is it just me hating on it? Alright, I put my lunch in the oven, so now we can talk more one-on-one. But let me know where you guys are coming from. Inside the United States, outside the United States, AMD or Nvidia, Trump or Biden. What do you guys think? I wanted to play some videos maybe for you or discuss AMD. Intel, Nvidia gang, JK, I like AMD too. Yeah, I like both of them, honestly. I like both of them. Honestly, the thing about Nvidia is, I'm going to pull up ChatGPT here so I can kind of explain it, because when I was reading it, it explained it best to me. But basically, I don't think any company will ever beat Nvidia's development, like their AI development, because they're just so far ahead of every single other company. Like, they've been doing this in the AI space since 2006. And also, I always thought that AMD, like, this was kind of a misconception or something that I thought wrong. But for some reason, I always thought that AMD had like a better like strategic partnership with companies, but definitely not. Nvidia just does more on the AI side, I feel like. Let's ask ChatGPT. So how is Nvidia so much farther ahead? And because I don't want to say anything wrong here. Hey Prophet, how you doing? If you're new to the channel, smash the like and subscribe button. Okay, the kata is the major. Can't even spell Nvidia. Who, me or you? Did I misspell it? That's unfortunate. Let me change that if I misspelled it. But I don't think I did. Did I misspell it, guys? Huh. To be fair, Nvidia is not even a real word. It's just like a name of a company. But let me check on my channel right now. If I misspelled it, I'll fix it. But what do you think about Nvidia? Yeah, I misspelled it. You're right. You're right. Hey, mistakes happen. And I'm not the best with spelling, especially when it's not a real word. But what do you think, AMD versus Nvidia? Personally, I think AMD is the underdog in the situation. Like, I think they can have they can become a $1 trillion company. They're only worth about 180 billion, while Nvidia is worth, I think, almost 3 trillion. All right, I corrected the spelling. There you go. Maybe you can be happy now. But hit the like and subscribe button if you're new here. But don't forget about Trump versus the people. Trump versus the people. Okay, back to the main topic right now, though. We're talking about Nvidia and at the moment. They have the CUDA dominance. It's the I always so bad with this word. It's the primary prime computing platform for an API. It's been around since 2006, giving Nvidia a massive head start, which I think I said around then before. And yeah, the thing is, a lot of things are built using their AI and using their software, so it's really hard to change and get off of that. And yeah, here's some stuff that we can look at right now, according to ChatGPT. Ecosystem and software stack. They don't just build GPUs. They've built a full software stack for AI. Deep neural network library. Interface optimization. NGC, pre-trained models and containers, etc. Early bet on AI. That's where their stock is really paying off, I guess. But if you want me to say which company I think has more room for growth, I think it's AMD. I mean, Nvidia has had a couple problems lately, like with the chip manufacturing and stuff like that. And AMD could be, a good backup plan. And if you're renting computers from AWS, Azure, GCP, you're almost always on Nvidia. But AMD is trying to catch up to what Nvidia has made. If anyone wants to give their thoughts on Nvidia or AMD. But like I said, I think AMD has more room for potential growth. Hello, Morgan. Welcome to the channel. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new here. But I just wanted to talk about the breakdown right now. Maybe some people will disagree. Now let's talk about the pros of AMD. Well, we're discussing a lot of things. We're discussing the main chip manufacturers in leading AI development, both AMD and Nvidia. But another thing we're talking about is Trump versus Harris. I'm just kidding. Trump already won, but I think he's doing a great job. The market's really shaky right now. And stuff like that. I do like that AMD's open source philosophy, strong hardware on paper. AMD's cheaper than Nvidia. That's a good benefit, I guess. Power efficiency. And, they have a lot of growing AI development. They have their ROCm, which is pretty much like Nvidia's CUDA. Which a lot of these things are complicated. I don't know everything about them. I'm not a Nvidia or AMD expert, but that's kind of why I'm here to talk to you guys and break down. So, ecosystem support. Nvidia is best in class, obviously. AMD is still catching up. Hardware innovation. Tensor cores, H100s. And AMD has the MI300X massive VRAM, which is, I guess, ramping up. A lot of people are excited for that. Open source, Nvidia is mostly closed source, and while AMD is mostly open source. So you can see everything they're doing in the code and all the information and stuff like that. Cloud availability, widely used. AMD has more limited development, cost efficient. AMD, of course, is more premium priced, Nvidia is more premium priced. Sorry, I don't know why I said AMD. While AMD is often cheaper. Developer support, huge community / tools for Nvidia, while AMD is more niche and, it's growing slowly. But if you're doing cutting edge LLM work, I have no clue what that means. Let's look up LLM work. Maybe I'll sound like an idiot to some of you computer geniuses. Oh yeah, definitely both of them are good. But if I had to say which one has more growing potential as a company, definitely AMD. I might be, you guys might not like that, but I think AMD would be the main choice. But which one's actually better? Obviously, Nvidia is the main leader. Okay, and examples of LLMs is ChatGPT, Gemini by Google, which is their AI, Llama by Meta. I think that's their, the AI for Meta, but I don't know. I hate the AI on Meta, and I don't like Meta in general. Why do people like the company Meta so much? They're completely against freedom of speech, and they take people like me off their platforms forever and never let me come back. It's horrible. You think AMD for better growth as well? For a stock specifically, definitely. What do you mean better spenders than Nvidia more potentially? That's an interesting point, but I'm not 100% sure what you mean. But if you're joining here, welcome to the chat. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Less overheads. Okay, that's a good point. What about the profit margin? I'm interested in seeing that. What's the prof? Do you own AMD stock or Nvidia or both of them? I'm guessing from what you said, you own both. What's the profit margin AMD versus Nvidia? Yeah, AMD is still a relatively small computer company, around $183 billion market cap. Ouch. Oh wait, okay. Yeah, AMD has a much more profit margin though. AMD net profit Nvidia net profit margin 51%, operating margin 57%, gross margin 74%. AMD profit margin approximately net profit margin 7.5%, operating margin around 11%, gross margin around 51%. Those are still really good numbers relatively, but they definitely need to grow the net profit margin for sure. But let's look at the spending next. What about spending and overhead? Let's look at that. Spending and overhead. So the operating expenses for Nvidia represents about 18.6% of its total revenue, while AMD's expenses approximately 92% of its revenue. But of course, on paper, actually it says the total operating expense for Nvidia is a lot higher, even though it's a smaller company. Huh. That's interesting. I was honestly expecting what you were saying. Well, I guess that kind of makes sense while AMD is getting all the spotlight from Nvidia is getting all the spotlight from investors while AMD just lags behind. That's a sad situation. Peter, what do you think about PayPal? They've been getting hammered, but they're coming out with lots of new innovation. Because now reading after this, I kind of feel like I don't really know how I feel about AMD anymore. Do you think it's a good company, or what do you think about it? Because I know their company market cap has fallen a lot, and yeah. I know a lot of people, my friend's an investment banker, that's why I bring this up, and he invests in PayPal. GameStop. Okay, that's a really interesting one. Yeah, I use PayPal quite a bit too. GameStop, though. Haven't heard that name in years. Let's look up GameStop. I'm honestly curious. One of the most used and abused stocks on the market. Honestly, I thought they would have gone bankrupt by now. GME. Huh. They're actually up 31% in the past 6 months. But they're down 11%. Yeah, GameStop is crazy. 150% gain in the last year, all from they can't go bankrupt. They did an offering and raised $6 billion. Well, their entire company worth is 12.1 billion market cap. But hey, all I gotta say is I hope they survive. I hope they can survive, but their stock is like the biggest meme stock in history. Just the biggest meme stock in history. Yeah, me too. GameStop should stay around. Holy cow, look at the last 5 years of GameStop stock. That's all from meme investors from Wall Street Bets. What was their peak of all time? $81. Archer Aviation. Never heard of this, but let's look it up. I think I've heard of it actually. Huh. Hey, 27 people now watching. Of course we gotta talk about Trump, my brother, because Trump is involved in all this. Doesn't Trump control the market right now? I mean, some of you might disagree, but Trump controls the stock market right now. And what are we talking about? We're talking about Nvidia and AMD and all these other stocks and the whole market in general. It's interesting. It's very interesting stuff. I still don't understand. I'm looking at this company, Archer Aviation. Not sure what they do. Proposes New York air taxi network. Hey, Halo 3 was a great game. I remember when Halo 4 came out, though, that game kind of sucked, I won't lie. Halo Reach and Halo 3 were the good ones. After that, it's horrible. Yeah, what does it do, though? I don't understand. I was still trying to read that, but my food is ready. I'm going to let it cool off, and then I'm going to read this. Yeah, Halo 4 sucked. I will say, I guess the campaign was alright, but it didn't even compare. It just didn't compare. Archer Aviation. What did they do? What did they do? I don't know. I'm not an aviation expert. And this seems really, really ambitious, but it also seems like it could go down the drain. Spotify stock? I don't know. Huh. How much does this thing cost? I need to know lots of information about this before I even consider looking at this more. I mean, it's a nice idea. It's like flying cars or, whatever, but like, how much is this going to cost a person? It says something like New York to Manhattan, 9 minutes. Like, that's nice and all, but like, how much is that going to cost someone? They're not going to pay like $5,000 to do that. Insurance on it would be impossible. Yeah, I don't know. This kind of looks like a pipe dream to me. It just looks like a pipe dream type of company. Like, oh, we want to do like flying aircrafts electric and make it faster travel, yada, yada, yada. But that's really, really difficult to do, and it's also really expensive to do. So I don't know. Probably not something I would count on too much. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, and this becomes $100 company or $100 stock. I mean, and then everyone uses it. I don't know. That would be crazy though. But hit the like and subscribe button if you're new here. What do you think about Trump's China tariffs? I know yesterday people were or the day before, people were kind of thinking, oh, he's going to take off the tariffs on China, yada, 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 yada. Insurance will prevent anything but four wheels becoming main transportation. Yeah, I agree with that. It's going to be a hard thing to do. I don't see it coming true. There's multiple reasons. But let me know what you guys think about the tariffs with China. Are they coming off anytime soon? I heard yesterday that China might want to do a deal, but I don't really believe that. I don't know. Let's pull up some news about it, actually. Why not? I know that's like the main thing pulling and dragging the market up constantly right now. Up and down, up and down. All because of the China tariffs. Nah, I don't like CNN. I don't like CNN. Communist News Network, I don't like that. We're going to put on good old Fox News. Honestly, don't even watch either one of those, but I just see that, since CNN isn't doing so well in their numbers or their videos, the first video that pops up is CNBC and the second is Fox, and we're gonna try out Fox. Chinese food is good, man. Chinese food is good. Honestly, yeah, I don't watch Fox News or CNN. I'm just using this to show you guys a clip of Trump's substantial cuts to Chinese tariffs, potentially.
President Trump setting the stage for a trade deal with China as the administration says they could scale back on some of the new tariffs soon.
Hurry. Mark Meredith is at the White House with details.
Possibly.
Mark, have the conversations with China actually started? Because it sounds like things are heading that way.
Hit the like and subscribe button.
Well, Steve, the White House was asked yesterday whether or not the president's engaged in a one-on-one talk with President Xi of China, and the White House not willing to go on the record with that, and an indication that these conversations are still not happening at the most senior levels. Either way, all three major U.S. stock indexes.
We got to do a deal if we want to stop the other tariffs. They're on pause, though.
Made within the last 24 hours, suggesting that the trade war.
I don't trust any news.
As you all three know, there's been a major sell-off on Wall Street ever since the trade war began.
We're doing fine with China. We're doing fine with I think almost every country. Everybody wants to have involvement with the United States. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. We were talking about fentanyl, where various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high. It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero.
As Fox Business has learned, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also said something similar to investors this week, that he expects a de-escalation with China in the near future. 2 weeks ago, the White House also pushed pause on imposing sweeping tariffs on almost every U.S. trading partner. It allowed this pause to allow negotiations to continue. So far, though, no new trade deals have been signed, and the White House says stay tuned.
I spoke to our entire trade team this morning. There is a lot of progress being made. We now have 18 proposals on paper that have been brought to the trade team. Again, these are proposals on paper that countries have proposed to the Trump administration and to our
We need to
government.
go harder on tariffs.
The other reason we're seeing so much green on Wall Street before the opening bell is the president made the strong suggestion again that he has no plans to fire the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Just this week, Trump suggested that Powell should have to leave his post as Federal Reserve Chairman. His post isn't up until May of next year, and so there was that suggestion that maybe Trump would try to push him out of the job, but Trump said last night that he no longer feels that is the case, but of course he wants to see interest rates brought down sooner rather than later. Steve, Ainsley, and Brian, back to you guys.
Yeah, the market seems to like that. So any sense that there'll be any progress made, because Norway comes this week, don't they want a trade deal too?
Well, the White House has been very clear, Brian, that they believe that everybody who's been on that hit list of the different tariffs.
Best
make
president
a deal at some
ever.
point. You had the vice president.
Hit the like and subscribe button.
And how to develop a further U.S.-Indian relationship. But in terms of actually getting these deals signed, there's a question about timing because they have to be worked out. It's not that it could just be written on a napkin and go. There's a lot of complicated language here. The White House has said simply that their team is working on it. But as lawmakers have been talking about, they want to see progress quickly.
All right, thank you so much, Mark. This is great news for China. Scott Bessent was at a JP Morgan event in Washington, D.C., talking to investors, and he says he expects a de-escalation in the trade war between the U.S. and China. He said no one thinks that the current status quo is sustainable because right now we have the 125% reciprocal tariffs on imports from China, in addition to those 20% tariffs on Chinese goods to curb the flow of fentanyl into the United States.
So one of the things that the White House is asking from all the countries is, okay, if you want to make a deal with us, you got to make a deal with us that you're not going to deal with China. And there are a number of countries that are pushing back on that. In fact, the EU has just come back and they said they will not decouple from China. They said talks with the United States and relations with China are two distinct matters. What the president is trying to do is he's trying to get so many people and countries around China to isolate China so that he's got better negotiation, better leverage with China. But right now, we don't know how many countries are saying, okay, if I have to pick between one or the other, I'll go with the United States. We don't know how many.
That's what China said on Monday. They said we're going to threaten countries not to do deals with us. It hasn't stopped Japan, hasn't stopped South Korea, has not stopped India, obviously hasn't stopped India. It didn't stop Italy, who feels as though they could spearhead an EU deal. I think it's really encouraging to see things get reconfigured, but I also don't think we should show any weakness with China. This is the moment we stare them down. We have lost a lot of market cap in doing this. Let's make sure we get what we want in this restructuring, and one of which they cannot steal intellectual property. The other thing is they can't continue to hijack and screw up our patents. They steal our products, they rename them, and then they sell them back to us. Yes. Amazon, 2/3 of all their products are China. So now they're standing up. Now they're worried about their tech center that they suppressed for so long. Now they're starting to prop up Alibaba. They rehab Jack Ma. So now they're desperate to try to get their economy going. I'd hate to think that in the end, we blinked.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews.
What did this
and
man
most
Luke
compelling
say?
analysis.
Let's see. Any new news about the tariffs? Hit the like and subscribe button. Just like they said on Fox, if you're new. MAGA! Should we play something that's really gonna piss off the Democrats? Tesla. Okay, fine. We'll play something that'll really piss them off.
Now to this story, first on Fox.
Scratching lottery tickets until we win. I agree. He needed to go harder on China. It's kind of sad to say. But the war ain't over. The war ain't over. He can still show some bravery.
DOJ has indicted an alleged high-ranking Tren de Aragua member on terrorism charges. The first time the government is prosecuting using that against any member of the violent gang. Texas congressional candidate Mayra Flores joins me now. And this is pretty big, Mayra. How vital is this terrorist designation to making sure we can put away these gang leaders for life?
It's a huge win for America, and it's exactly what we voted for. We voted for a safer country, and this administration is doing exactly that. They're cleaning the mess that the Biden administration did in 4 years. They allowed millions of people to cross illegally into our country, including gang members and terrorists. And to see Democrats travel to El Salvador and fight to bring back MS-13 gang members, it's something that I didn't see coming. They definitely don't want to win the midterms in 2026, so they can keep on doing these type of stupidities. But we are not going to allow the Democrats to destroy this country and to bring back MS-13 and terrorists into our country. So I'm very happy to see that the Trump administration is doing what they promised to make America safe again.
It certainly is an odd strategy by the Democrats, but back to the Trump administration. It's a little surprising to me that no administration has used terrorism charges against these gang members in the past. Are you optimistic that Tren de Aragua will be dismantled during the 4 years of the Trump administration because of moves like this?
Absolutely. And that's what needed to be done. That's exactly what they are, terrorists. They terrorize the people in South America. They terrorize the people in Latin America. They terrorize Americans as well. That's what they are, terrorists. And I hope that soon we will see also the cartels in Mexico be also assigned as terrorists, because that's exactly what they are. We need to remove them, not just from our country, but we need to remove them from this planet. They need to be eradicated. They have the people just here, southern border, terrorized, and they have a huge impact here in South Texas as well. So it's important that we also eradicate the Mexican cartel as well.
Meantime, the White House filing federal charges against an illegal migrant who killed 2 teens
Illegal.
in a horrific drunk driving crash in California, but was set to be released more than 6 years early. The fathers of those teens spoke to our own Bill Malugin. Listen to this.
He said, Anya's name. I said, yes, it's my daughter. My wife came downstairs and she was screaming and crying. She said, no, 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 no.
Years and
Deport them illegals.
Killing 2 kids and being drunk and being here like illegally in the country and everything. It's like, I don't know how it could happen.
Myra, how can anyone, especially the woke California justice system, listen to those fathers and hear the details of this horrific case and say, that killer is somebody we want back out on the streets?
The Democrats love to defend
criminals.
It makes no sense. They've lost common sense. They don't care about American parents. They don't care about the safety of the American people. And we're seeing that every single day. I can't imagine what these parents are going through. And anyone, I don't care what your status is, should be held accountable and should be in prison for something like this, especially if you don't belong in our country. You either go to prison or you're sent back. And this individual needs to be sent to El Salvador and put in prison there for life. Anyone that comes illegally to our country to commit these types of crimes and hurt our children should be held accountable and given life. No more opportunities to these type of people.
It goes back to this one notion. It seems like so many on the left
Protect America. Deport the illegals.
and want to make sure he or she is taken care of because of the system. And when you hear those fathers, as a father myself, thinking about what would happen if my daughter was in that situation. It doesn't make sense. And it is so frustrating that we have any Americans who share that mindset, but clearly we do. Myra Flores, we know if you get back to Congress, you will be on the other side of that, fighting for the victims and their rights. Myra Flores, thank you so much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Does CNN ever stop lying to you? Fox isn't the only place that I get my news from. He was an illegal. Trump is our president. If you don't like it, you can cry about it or leave the country. Those are your only two options. How do you feel? Let's keep playing about the illegals since it pisses you guys off so bad.
Now to Bill Malugin. He has a Fox News exclusive on the tragic consequences of an unsecured border. Hi, Bill. Been waiting to talk to you all morning.
Yeah, Dana, good morning to you. This illegal alien had a illegal alien in California long before he ever killed these two California teenagers. He's got several felony convictions on his record, several convictions for driving without a license, but he was still out and about on California's roads. And this young American couple ended up paying the price for that. And now their killer is getting an early release. It was November 2021, a fiery collision on an Orange County freeway. A young couple dead, and the driver who crashed into them, a twice-deported illegal alien from Mexico with multiple felonies, in custody for being drunk, high, and speeding at nearly 100 miles per hour.
I get a knock on the door, and there's two police officers.
The pain written all over the face of Pavel Osokin, as he recalls being told his son Nikolai and his 19-year-old girlfriend Anya Varfolomeev, friends since they were kids, were gone.
They told me there was a horrible incident. My son and his girlfriend, Anya, basically were burned alive in their car. She was my daughter.
Anya's father, Anatoly, got a similar knock on the door that night.
She said Anya's name. I said, yes, it's my daughter.
The Democrat criminals don't feel bad.
And cried. She said, no, 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 no.
In spring of 2022, a jury convicted Oscar Eduardo Ortega Anguiano on 2 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. A judge sentenced him to 10 years. But on Easter Sunday, the family say
Corrupt
they received
ass
this notice
California.
from the California Department
Kill
of
his
Corrections
ass.
that on July 19th, he'll be getting out.
2 years for killing 2 kids. It's confusing to me. Why you give them 10 if they're going to spend 5 and then 3?
Yeah, 2 young, productive American citizens killed for nothing. And that illegal immigrant who already has been deported twice is going to be released again?
In a statement, the Department of Corrections wouldn't confirm the release, but said in part, quote, incarcerated persons may earn credits for participating in rehabilitative programming, which may move their parole dates to an earlier date. Anya and Nikolai's families are now sending letters to the state, calling for Ortega Anguiano to serve his full sentence.
All those dreams were cut short just by one person who was not even supposed to be on that freeway. I will never forgive this guy. Never, ever.
I hope he's going to stay in prison. I hope he's going to get old in prison. And I hope he's going to get kicked out from our country in the end.
And Dana, ICE confirms to Fox News they have placed a detainer on this illegal alien with the California Department of Corrections. Their hope is that the state will transfer him to their custody upon his release from prison in July.
They
As
will
for
not
the victims'
corrupt
families, they're now
California.
left wondering, what are 2 lives worth here in the state of California? They say, apparently, only a little more than 3 years. We'll send it back to you.
Bye-bye, illegals.
Bill Malugin,
Bye.
thank you.
So Tom Hellman joins us from the North Lawn White House. And sir, thank you for your time today. There's a lot to get to, and I know for a lot of our viewers, we're covering a lot of
Get
different
their
cases,
ass.
very different people.
in different parts of the country, in different states. Just react to Bill's reporting right there from California first. Let's begin there.
Well, look, Bill, everybody asks why I get so emotional on network TV, why I get emotional when I testify, because I've met hundreds of angel moms and dads and hear every story. I'll never forget any of those stories. It's just a tragedy. But I'll make this commitment right now. I'll work with Secretary Noem on this case, and I guarantee you, if they don't honor a detainer, we'll have ICE agents outside that facility to take custody of this individual and deport him. He's been deported several times, which means he's a felon. Re-entry the country with diplomatic deportation is a felony. We will prosecute him and we will deport him. I'll make that commitment. I'll work with Secretary Noem to make sure that happens.
I want to bring up one other thing before we get to the bigger picture, and that is, for example, when someone on the left go against you, they will say, oh, it's just like one or two people, right? Well, that's not the case, as you know. And here's another example. There was a young woman, a mother of two, killed in Maryland. Again, Maryland, mother of two.
If you're defending this behavior, you should be disgusted in yourself.
And she is one of Senator Van Hollen's constituents and her mother, who is lesbian Melith Ramirez Guerra, I'm sorry, that was the woman who was killed. The mother is devastated, just like those fathers were that you just saw. This is what Van Hollen said. I cannot imagine the grief and pain that the family of Ms. Guerra is feeling right now. My heart goes out to them during this incredibly difficult time as they mourn her loss. I thank all of those in law enforcement who have been part of the extensive search effort and investigation. Now Ms. Guerra's family and friends and our community will see her suspected killer and anyone involved in this crime face justice in a court of law. Courts of law are where we punish the guilty and provide for the due process rights of all. That is why it is important to respect the rule of law and the decision of our courts. The issue is the woman who was killed didn't get that chance for due process. There she is right there on your screen. And the senator, I know what the point he's trying to make, but the point the president was trying to make yesterday in the Oval Office is we have a huge number of illegal immigrants in this country that are affiliated with these gangs. And to go one by one is going to take years and years and years that we don't have in order to protect the rest of the citizens. So how do you think this gets solved in the end?
Well, first of all, Van Hollen's statement is just ridiculous. If you want more safety for the citizens of Maryland, then stop being the sanctuary state. Work with ICE. When you arrest a public safety threat that's in the country illegally, work with ICE. Let us in that jail so we can get them in a safety and security jail rather than release them back in the public, which creates a public threat. And finally, what's happening right now across the country, we got district court judges shutting us down across the country. There's a reason they're district court judges. They're not national judges. But as you mentioned earlier when talking to Bill, you got New York judge district court, you got a district court in Colorado putting a national ban on our activity. They're a district court judge. We got to get this to the Supreme Court as quick as possible. District court judges can't overrule the president's executive orders. This is what we got to get fixed right away in the Supreme Court so we can actually keep the president's promise to American people that we're going to remove national security threats and public safety threats.
Yeah, on that point, we're fighting a lawnmower. Apologies to our viewers at home. This is very important now, okay? Yesterday, the president said this, and I quote, "We cannot give everyone a trial because to do so would take, without exaggeration, 200 years. Now, the court has said that those subject to the statute needed to be given the opportunity to challenge their removal. To me, I interpret that as a sense of due process. How do you interpret that?
I think due process was given, like the Maryland father, the MS-13 terrorist that was removed. He had due process. He was ordered removed by 2 different immigration judges. But here's what they're doing, Bill. Here's the plan. The Biden administration overwhelmed the system. 10.5 million people came to the border. They know it's going to take years to get through the court docket. By then, they're hoping there's another Democratic administration in. They'll have U.S. citizen children. Then all of a sudden, nobody wants them removed. We're spoiling their plans to have future Democratic voters and through a census, have control of the House. Through a census vote, Democratic sanctuary cities get more seats in the House. This is their plan. That's why they overwhelmed the system. That's why they detained them. When they detain them, they get a hearing in 35 days. They released them. Now it's going to take 5 to 7 years. They're going to keep playing this game to the immigration court through appeal after appeal after appeal, district judge to slow us down, because their hopes is they'll gain power again, then they can award amnesty to 10 million illegal aliens that are released in this country illegally. That is their plan, and we're trying to remove these public safety threats and national security threats as quick as possible. They're putting every roadblock imaginable in front of us to prevent us from
We're deporting all the damn illegals and all the criminals. Call it what you want. They're murderers and rapists and gang members.
And how to deal with this situation right now. Would that be of use for you all as you try to deal with it?
Absolutely. Congress needs to take action. They can solve the border crisis by simply addressing trade laws, the TVPRA on children, the asylum laws, and the Florida Settlement Agreement. If they make those three changes, no trade laws, they've solved 90% of the border problems forever.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Tom Homan, thank you, and thanks for dealing with that distraction there, sir. We will talk again soon, okay? There's a lot to cover, and we shall. Thanks.
Tom Homan is an American hero. Tom Homan is a hero, guys. He's a hero. It's okay, guys. There's a lot of people that don't even live in the side of the United States or never been there in the chat. They're all foreign agents and foreign bots. They're not even American citizens. They don't have an American passport. They hate our country. In the end, their country will go down the shitter 100 times worse. Trying to mess with us. Let's piss them off with more behavior about the illegal immigrants. Here we go.
Here's where we begin with another illegal immigrant accused of murdering a Maryland mother.
Hit the like and subscribe button if you guys love America.
Robinson Alexis Barbera Rosa, a Guatemalan national, with the murder of Lesbia Ramira Guerra, his girlfriend and the mother of his two children. The case has drawn some parallels to that of Rachel Morin, another Maryland mom of 5 who was killed by an illegal immigrant. You'll remember her, you see her there. Now, this time around, Democratic Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen took the time to acknowledge this terrible tragedy in a statement. He did so with Rachel Morin as well, I should point out, but he jumped at the chance to hit back at President Trump's immigration agenda. He said this, quote, "I cannot imagine the grief and pain that the family of Ms. Guerra is feeling right now. My heart goes out to them during this incredibly difficult time as they mourn her loss. Courts of law are where we punish the guilty and provide for the due process rights of all. That is why it is important to respect the rule of law and the decisions of our courts." Now, Trump border czar Tom Homan joined America's Newsroom this morning. He called out Senator Van Hollen over that statement.
Van Hollen's statement is just ridiculous. If you want more safety for the citizens of Maryland, then stop being the sanctuary state. Work with ICE. When you arrest a public safety threat that's in the country illegally, work with ICE. Let us in that jail so we can get them in a safety and security jail rather than release them back in the public, which creates a public threat.
So Julie, 23-year-old Lesbia Milith Ramirez, mother of 2. I'm sure this will lead every broadcast news coverage this evening. I'm sure on the tip of every reporter's tongue, and Caroline Levitt's next briefing will be this woman.
It's so sad that it won't be. I mean, because it should be. And I would love for one Democrat to stand up and say, you know what we're doing, what this administration is doing is the right thing. This is just a reminder of not only is the administration doing what should have been done years ago, but this is a reminder to keep on moving on. And I wish that the Democrats would once and for all just recognize the fact that the illegal immigration crisis here is not only dangerous for Americans, it's dangerous for all. I mean, his girlfriend was murdered. He was here illegally. And I guarantee you this guy has a rap sheet. Mm-hmm. And I hope that the Democrats at least finally acknowledge and step up and start supporting the illegal immigration crisis, but also the deportation, policy that the Trump administration is trying to push forward and getting so much pushback for, which is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, I think Senator Van Hollen's a little confused on his role. I think he thinks he's a defense attorney for Albrego Garcia and not the senator from Maryland. He put out a paper statement for Rachel Morin, that mother of 5 who lost her life to an illegal immigrant. He puts out a paper statement in this case, but watch him vigorously defend Albrego Garcia on CNN. Watch this.
Because I know what he's said many times in court, and that's the proper forum for debating this. And as we know, the federal district court judge in this case said, and I brought it with me again, and I'm going to read it, no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or to any terrorist activity, period. That has been what Abrego Garcia has been telling the court.
Lisa, Caitlin Collins' question to him was, did you ask Albrego Garcia directly whether he was affiliated with this gang? She asked him that. Because you think if you're sitting across from the man,
He has known MS-13 tattoos on his knuckles. And second off, he got arrested with MS-13 gang members. MS-13 gang members only hang around other MS-13 gang members as the code says of their gang or potential recruits.
You would ask him, and he had to say, no, I did not. So instead of zealously advocating for citizens of Maryland, he thinks he's in a court of law defending Albrego Garcia.
Because it's not about us. It's not about the American citizen. I was having this conversation with Paul Morrow on my podcast the other day. If you look at the Democrats' plan all along to allow this mass illegal immigration, to open our southern border to the floodgates of hell, it's brilliant. I mean, they knew that President Trump was going to get caught up in the courts of trying to deport all these people because you can't adjudicate all of these cases. You already look at the immigration courts. There's a backlog of over 3.6 million cases in the United States. You look at the fact for even the easier court proceedings for non-asylum cases, it can take up to 2 years, if not more. So they knew that this was going to get caught up in the court system, that he wasn't going to be able to deport all these people, and they were importing a new voter base. And they don't even have to have a pathway to voting for these illegal aliens. It impacts the census. These non-citizens, it impacts the apportionment for the U.S. House of Representatives. It impacts the electoral votes for the presidential race as well. So if you really look at their master plan, even sanctuary cities is kind of brilliant as well. Democrat Congressman Yvette Clarke said this in a congressional hearing, that they need more of these migrants for redistricting purposes. So if you think it's kind of a brilliant plan, disastrous for us, the American citizen, but good for Democrats for retaining power.
Kaylee, it is part of a plan, and they say the quiet part out loud. A bunch of Democrats spoke to Politico. The headline was, Dems see a winning issue in case of man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. I know the administration would take issue with that headline, but nevertheless, it's part of their plan. And I wanted to pull this up. It's a poll. The average American, 56% support deporting all illegal immigrants. That's according to a CNN poll. So their plan may jive with this leftist extremist voting base of their party, but it doesn't jive with nearly 60% of the American people.
No, it's an absolute short-term political loser. I think about a Rasmussen poll that came out this week that found 69% of Democratic voters, 77% of Hispanics, and 70% of voters, young adults my age, all support Trump's mass deportation plan. But to Lisa's point, this is part of the long-term gamble that the Democrats made several years ago, where they are willing to sacrifice political opportunity right now for supplanting the entire country's population and replacing it with a new demographic base. And I think even the willingness to die on this particular hill of Albrego Garcia is actually a very clear message from the Democratic Party, which is that if they are willing to go to bat repeatedly and this aggressively for an alleged gangbanger, an alleged wife beater, a verifiable illegal alien whose case has already been adjudicated by 2 immigration courts, both of which found that he can and should be removed from this country, they are going to make it downright impossible to deport anyone else. And of course, this was always part of the plan. You remember back to Trump 1.0 when we had the AOC photo ops and the kids in cages hoax. We've just skipped from that to, oh no, won't someone please think of the terrorists? They're not even trying to hide it anymore. That's the play.
And Republicans, meanwhile, are capitalizing on it, Tom. The NRCC, so this is the House campaign arm of the Republican Party, put out a statement, and it read in part, we'll pay for the plane tickets for these House Democrats going to El Salvador and Senate Democrats. Mm-hmm. They just can't forget to smile for the cameras as they sell out their constituents. And then the NRSC, that's the Republican Senate campaign arm, they put out an ad. Watch this.
Welcome to El Salvador, home to breathtaking sunsets, world-class surf breaks, and gangbanger Kilmer Abrego Garcia. Garcia. So what are you waiting for, Senate Democrats? Join your colleagues and step into the rhythm of rescue today.
They seem to like what the Democrats are doing.
That is hilarious. That's the first time I saw that thing. Obviously, because the Republicans, they have a good message to run on here. Unlike the last Trump administration, when his back was against the wall with the kids in cages situation, that we were able to, we were not able to control the narrative back then. It seems like now, instead of the kids in cages, instead of, oh, the administration is being really mean, we have people arguing over whether this guy beat his wife or not, whether it's an MS-13, tattoo on his fist. They obviously are in a good position. And you look at the American people, more than 50% agree with deporting all illegal aliens. And I think most people, when they look at this and they look at the judge's decision, the recent decision by the Supreme Court, they don't understand the details of this. What they know is that there are criminals running around our country, that we had an invasion. And they think, why can't they go outside of our country while they wait for due process? That's what most people are thinking.
Yeah, that's the common sense reaction of the American
No
public,
shit.
But don't leave common sense, average American thinking to the far left of the party.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno.
Why defend criminals? I can understand why you might defend a regular illegal that's trying to make a life here. But why are the Democrats defending criminals? People that have these kind of reports about themselves. Wife beaters. Gang members. The Democrats will never get him back. The president of El Salvador has spoken. He's not releasing his citizen to America, to a country that he's not a citizen of. He's not releasing a terrorist illegally into the United States. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry that you love to defend criminals and you love to support illegal criminals in the country, but unfortunately none of them are ever coming back. Now, the due process, that's another story. That'll take about 10 years, like Trump said, to get through all of these immigrants. Now, I do believe that they should get the due process. They should be able to go to court, say their case, etc., etc. I'm all for that. But they shouldn't be allowed to stay in the country until their court date in 10 years. They should be kicked out and deported until then. You're not even in America. New profile, you are not even an American citizen. You don't know what you're talking about. You've never been to America. You hate Americans. You hate America. He has been charged with a crime. He's been in America illegally. He got 2 deportation orders from 2 separate judges. You don't have any brain cells left, and you believe CNN, everything it tells you. Thank you, Christ King. Thank you. He lost 2 federal appeals. Entering the country illegally is a crime. He's not a citizen of the United States. Look it up. Look it up. The Democrats have lost all their brain cells saying an illegal who just jumped over the border hasn't done a crime. You guys, an American citizen can't even jump over the border. If we go over to Mexico, we can't just jump over the border to come back to America. That's a crime. You can get detained by ICE, even if you're a citizen of the United States. If you go to Mexico and you want to come back into America, you have to go through the legal ports of entry. If you jump over the fence, you're committing a crime. A lot of Americans don't know this, but it's true. Even Republicans, Democrats, All of them don't know that. You can't just jump over the fence, even if you're an American citizen. That is committing a crime. Even if you're a citizen of the country, you legally have to go through the right ports of entry to enter a country. I mean, there's an American citizen. His name is, I forget his name actually, Channel 5 on YouTube. He made a whole video about jumping over the border from Mexico into America. He's an American citizen. He got detained and put into ICE detention for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks. He's an American citizen, but he broke the law. He had to go to court over it. He almost got criminally charged, but he got a good attorney, and somehow he wasn't getting into too much trouble. I think he beat the case. I don't know. He violated his holding order. He violated his holding order. When you're in a criminal organization, a terrorist organization, you violated all of your immigration rights and your holding orders, etc., etc. You don't know the laws of America. You're not an American citizen. This guy, new profile, I want everyone to know he's not an American citizen. He's not living in America. He wasn't born in America. He's never visited America, so he does not know what he's talking about. They're not going to open the border, James. If you're talking about farmers and stuff like that, Trump already has a plan for them. Every illegal that works at a farm that's a good citizen, Trump is going to let them self-deport. Then he will give them a stipend so they can come back into America and continue their work at farm jobs. He's going to help them come back in illegally for all the farming illegals that want to self-deport and be good people. He's going to help them, believe it or not. And don't worry, Paul, I'm not stressing. And yes, F these Democrats defending a murderous criminal. Multiple of them. And also, that guy is an MS-13 member, the one that we just showed a video about. Talk to me when you've actually visited America. Then we can talk. I'm not going to talk to a foreign national about American politics they know nothing about. That's ridiculous. Then why does he have MS-13 gang signs on his knuckles? Should I pull up the image? Let's look it up. And why was he arrested with other MS-13 gang members? Does he just hang around a gang that only lets other MS-13 members hang around them for fun? I don't think so.
Trump thinks this Photoshop is so good, you will think the tattoo is real.
It is real.
He is smart.
He is smart. Special Needs made that video. First off, I'm not in love with Trump. Second off, don't you believe in the legal system being weaponized against good people? Or are we all just going to sit here and say, oh, the legal system is perfect. No good person has ever been arrested or charged with things incorrectly. And don't you think that Biden, he pardoned his entire family preemptively? Don't you think that's a little criminal and suspicious? No, I just ate some ice cream. So yeah, I spit a little bit, admittedly, but yeah. Let's go back to the MS-13 gang members' tattoos, because this really pisses you guys off, and I love it. First off, good point. Let's talk about the January 6th pardons. Don't you believe people that most of those people were there peacefully? They never killed anyone, they never harmed anyone, and they did 3 or 4 years in prison. Don't you think 3 or 4 years in prison for peacefully protesting and not killing anyone? Maybe they broke a window, maybe they did this or that. Don't you think that's enough time? Like, do they need to spend life in prison? One of the illegal immigrants that ran someone over, or not ran them over, he smashed into the car and killed this guy's son and his wife. He killed him. He got 10 years in prison. Now he's getting out after 5 years. Yet the Jan 6 people, they had to do 4 years almost in prison. So they did 4 years in prison for a peaceful protest. Meanwhile, the guy that murdered a kid and his wife is only getting 5 years in prison, and he's an illegal immigrant. Yet you guys want to talk about, oh, he pardoned Jan 6ers that did 4 years in prison. They did 4 years in prison for a peaceful protest that they should have never been in prison in the first place. The only cops that died were the ones that committed suicide, and one person got hurt. All of a sudden, when we talk about Jan 6ers, they become terrorists. But when we're talking about MS-13 gang members and illegal immigrants that are in different gangs other than MS-13, we're talking about, oh, they were just a Maryland man, just a Maryland man. Just a peaceful father of Maryland. But when we're talking about Jan 6ers, oh, they're terrorists, they're terrorists. They did their time in prison. 3 or 4 years, 4 years in prison. 4 years in prison. Yet the guy that's an illegal immigrant ran over this guy and his wife in his car, drunk, smashed into them, killed them. They died inside of the car, caught on fire. He only gets 5 years in prison. The Jan 6ers, 4 years in prison. Murderer, illegal murderer, 5 years in prison. What sense does this make? That's the laws in California. That's the liberalization of the state of California. There's no justice in that state. There's nothing morally right about California in any shape or form. Jan 6ers, 4 years in prison. Illegal immigrant runs over this guy and his wife, kills them in their car. They die in the car fire. 5 years. 5 years for the murderer, illegal immigrant that killed someone in his car. Thank you. He did have a criminal record. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Five years in prison was a reduced sentence. He got 10 years for murdering somebody, running them over in his car while in their vehicle, smashed into them, drunk, killed them. He got 10 years in the state of California. They're releasing him after 5 years for good behavior. 5 years in prison for murdering 2 people. I've never heard of any U.S. citizen getting that light of a punishment. But all of a sudden, an illegal immigrant that's not even supposed to be in the country in the first place can get 5 years for 2 murders. Yet the Jan 6ers, most of them peaceful, maybe they broke a window, get 4 years in prison. What kind of justice system is this? And then you guys want to talk about, oh, Trump's a felon, Trump's a felon. You probably don't even know the crimes he was charged with. None of them killed anyone. None of them were involving hurting any women. They're all financial crimes. Which, to mention, the bank went to court and argued that he did nothing wrong. His own bank went to court and said he did nothing wrong. Deport, deport, deport. That is true, Burberry, but that was for a civil court case, which means he was never criminally charged for it. Just so we're all clear here. And if you know anything about the court system, you can easily charge someone in a civil lawsuit. To actually get someone criminally charged, you actually need hard proof and evidence. They have to be guilty beyond reasonable doubt. In civil cases, it's not the same. They're just going after money and no one gets any prison time. What crimes did the Jan 6ers do? Please tell me. Did they protest and break windows? They didn't kill anybody. What did they do? Break some windows and protest? Besides that, they did 4 years in prison before they got pardoned. What am I wrong about? You just want to say I'm wrong and not say anything. Protesting is a crime? Okay, breaking a window, I get it. A few of them broke a window. Maybe 2 people. Why do you get 4 or 5 years in prison for that? That makes 0 sense.
Trump.
4 years in prison for breaking a window and protesting versus a guy that murdered 2 people. He was an illegal immigrant. He murdered 2 people. In his car, he smashed into them. He was drunk driving and killed them, and they died in a fire. And he got 10 years in prison, reduced down to 5 years. Yet the Jan 6ers, they got 4 years in prison for peacefully protesting. All they did was smash a little bit of windows. Having a knife or a bear spray or a gun, as long as it's legal, is not a crime. Having bear spray or having a knife isn't a crime. And having a firearm is also legal as long as you're not a felon. So what crime did they do? Yes, breaking a window is a crime. Do you think you should get 4 years in prison for breaking a window?
Trump chickened out.
Incorrect. No one used bear spray on a cop. The cops came into Jan 6 without giving any warning, and they started spraying everyone with tear gas. So I'm pretty sure none of them got the chance to use bear spray on anybody. Who did they use bear spray on? Themselves? There was no one in the building. It was just the Jan 6 protesters. Yes, exactly. They started shooting rubber pellets, not just tear gas, into a peaceful crowd. There's literally a video of it. I'm glad that Kamala lost. I love Donald J. Trump. If she won, that would be America's biggest downfall. I'd rather Biden be president. I'd rather Bernie Sanders be president. Anyone but Kamala. Other than Gavin Newsom, the worst governor in the history of the United States. Nicole, you're the same people defending a guy that killed an illegal that killed 2 American citizens. He was drunk driving. He killed them. He got 10 years in prison for 2 murders. Manslaughter, whatever you want to call it. It got reduced down to 5 years in the state of California. Meanwhile, the Jan 6 protesters, they got 4 years in prison, and now they got pardoned, and people are whining about it. They did their time in prison. They did their time. It's called an accident. How about don't enter the country illegally and don't drink and drive? He was drunk. I've never smashed into anyone on accident and killed them. Maybe that's because I don't drink and drive behind the wheel. Hit the like and subscribe button though if you guys are new. I support Donald J. Trump, and I support getting rid of all these illegal immigrants for all the crimes they've done. Had he not been here illegally, never could have happened. Exactly. Too much Budweiser. Exactly. "99% of Democrats just believe every single thing they're told on TV and every single thing they're told by CNN. I don't believe any major news networks. I do my own research from multiple news networks. The CNN overlords. A new profile is not even an American citizen. He's never stepped foot in America. He's never been to America. All according to his own words. He hates an American. He's a foreign nationalist that's hated America since he's been born. He's been jealous of America's success. He's been jealous of the wealth Americans have been able to create for themselves. He's jealous of Donald J. Trump. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Foreign nationals like New Profile that hates on Americans and hates America and's never stepped foot in America, hates everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Imagine going to the internet to argue about another country and their politics. That's a sad existence. Who died in January 6th other than the cops that committed suicide after it was all done and over with? Look at the protests that the Democrats are doing every day. What's the difference? That's supposed to be quote unquote peaceful. They're destroying Jewish people's Teslas and putting Nazi symbols on them. How is that peaceful? They should have to spend 4 or 5 years in prison just like the Jan 6ers.
How do you square the two? You have images like
that's like 8 questions, but bottom line is the college students, their visas are being
hit the like and subscribe button if you're new.
Department believes are national security threats.
Sir, not all.
And it's not about what they say, it's about what they say and what they do. First Amendment rights, I can't stay in a movie theater tonight and claim fire. There's a limit. When you come to this country on a visa or become a resident alien, that's a privilege that comes with certain responsibilities. Now, I'm not with the State Department. I didn't make the decision to cancel those visas. But our job is, when we cancel those visas, they're removed from the country. As far as the others you talk about, we are forced into the community because of sanctuary cities. There's New York City, I'll say it again, New York City, you're a sanctuary city, you're a sanctuary for criminals because we can't arrest a bad guy in Rikers Island, for God's sakes. We got to go and they have them find him. I said from day one, ICE is going to enforce the law, unlike the last administration who says ICE can't arrest an illegal alien for simply being here illegally. They're rewriting federal law. No, ICE agents took an oath to enforce immigration laws. So when we go find the bad guy, and they will, if he's with others, they're coming too. Prioritization doesn't mean maybe I prioritize my family life over my work life. I don't forget my work life. We're prioritizing public safety threats and national security. That's what we're doing. The data proves it.
But the students who are just getting the traffic summons, do you think they're national security threats?
I'm not involved with this investigation. I can tell you we're going to force immigration.
This man is an American hero. He puts his life at risk. He puts his family's lives at risk, all to deport illegal criminals.
Well, we can talk case by case, but every case is different. I can't put them all in one bucket. I don't know the details of every investigation. ICE and board to arrest thousands of people a day. I'm not familiar with every investigation.
But do you think that it all hurts this agency that is doing this kind of work to have with images, wearing masks, stopping college students, taking them wherever? Do you think that
I think the American people elected Donald Trump to enforce immigration laws is exactly what we're doing. We're doing what the American people voted for. It's not okay to be in this country legally.
Mr. Holmes, I want to ask you about illegal, those who cross the border illegally. Would you want to deport somebody who crossed the border illegally, regardless of whether they committed a crime? And you mentioned ICE on Rikers. If ICE doesn't reopen their office on Rikers, what would you do? I mean, what would you want the city to do? What would you want the mayor to do?
It means we'll put more agents on the streets in New York. We're going to get the bad guy regardless. We'd like to get him. Look, we didn't decide to lock him at Rikers Island. The local authorities did. Why? Obviously, a public safety threat. And I think any member of the city council who's going to sue to end that agreement, based on what you see, this is just one example of what collaboration means. Why would you not want ICE to take possession of a terrorist member, a gang member, a public safety threat in the safety and security of the jail? It's safer for the officer. It's safer for the alien. It's certainly safer for New York, where we arrested a bad guy in the jail.
And deport somebody that doesn't need to be deported at that point?
Pardon me?
Couldn't they make a mistake like we've seen already?
There's been no mistakes.
Well, the federal government has made a mistake with at least one person.
Look, the details of that investigation argue that. The details, they missed the documentation show this guy withholding removal. That was years ago. So what's withholding removal based on number one doesn't qualify for terrorists? So off the table right there. Number two, the gang he was fearing of, it no longer exists. So the situation surrounding that case has changed. So I stand by the fact that this guy, this El Salvadoran national criminal alien gang member terrorist, is home.
And then following up on, if somebody crosses the border illegally and is here, would you still want to deport them even though they haven't committed a crime?
Absolutely, they committed a crime. Entering the country illegally is a crime.
What do you expect?
Entering the country illegally is a crime.
See, this is what you never cover. Look at the immigration court data. Clearly shows 9 out of 10 people who make asylum claim end up with an order removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. And people say, well, it's just innocent illegal immigration. But when you flood the border like the last administration does, where 70% on average of agents are off the line, what happened? 600% increase in sex trafficking women and children. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl. A record number of people on terrorist watch lists crossing the border. Bad things happen when you lose control of the border. So what you call innocent illegal immigration.
Thank you, Three-Hold Movement.
Other bad things to happen because the criminal cartels have the operation control of the border, not the men and women of the border patrol. President Trump, like him or hate him, he did in 6 weeks what the Biden administration couldn't or wouldn't do in 4 years. Right now, today, as I'm talking to you, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. We did that in 6 weeks. So President Trump has proven. The last administration lied about a secure border. We show them what a secure border looks like now. 95% decline, most secure border in our lifetime. ICE has arrested 3 times more criminals than the Biden administration has done. So men and women, ICE are sticking to priorities, public safety threats, national security threats, but if you're in the country legally, you're not off the table.
Are NYPD officers involved that are assigned to the task force? Are they also working on the catch?
If you guys are in Canada, I really feel bad. Your politics are even worse than Trump there. Your politician is worse than Trump there. Egg prices have dropped they've dropped 25% according to Trump since he's got in office. Egg prices were higher during Biden. Now you can say that's because of the bird flu or whatever was happening during Biden's presidency, blah, yada, yada, yada. But Biden is the one that authorized the murder of all these chickens that he was scared that they were going to get bird flu. Egg prices have dropped under President Trump. %40 now in my area, they have dropped. Thank you. Hit the like and subscribe button if you guys are new here.
Revoke efforts that are being targeted here with the local HSI field office.
I don't understand. Say that again.
The catch and revoke efforts that are
Catch and
targeting
revoke.
students.
New profile isn't in the United States, guys. Just don't comment to him.
The students are
Hey, much appreciated. USA #1, and the country that new profile in is the worst country. Let's go Trump.
These suspects, are they going to be tried or deported?
That's up to the local district attorney. And now some are going to be prosecuted federally. It depends. That's what collaboration looks like.
Can you explain the difference in approach here?
At least I'm glad the rainbow are gone. Agreed. No more transgender Easters. I was sick of those transgender Easters.
If they want to continue the prosecution, they do a writ and take them back into custody. Many times the prosecutors, you know what? Deport them. We'd rather have them deported.
In all these cases?
Not all these cases. I'm saying it's case by case with thousands of cases a week, right? Where the local field office works with the local prosecutors and the federal prosecutors, the federal criminal investigation, federal prosecution, to coordinate. Do you want to keep them for prosecution? We can make that happen. Do a writ and take them back into custody. Well, ICE collaborates with the prosecutors on what the next steps are going to be. But the end game is going to be, if they're in the United States illegally, they're going to be deported.
But I think in some of the cases, in the habeas petitions, you haven't argued that you've brought these people into collaboration with prosecutors who've made a deliberate decision to bypass prosecution. You've just said you're a gang member and you're on a plane.
What's up, Waffle Jackson? What's up? Now let me remind you guys, 4 years in prison for the Jan 6ers, 5 years in prison for the guy that murdered 2 people, an illegal, driving drunk, murdered 2 American citizens. He gets 5 years in prison in California. Meanwhile, the Jan 6ers that peacefully protested, all they did was break a few windows at most. And protest, 4 years in prison. Most of them didn't even break any windows or break anything. Just had to remind you guys of that. 5 years in prison for an illegal immigrant that murdered 2 American citizens. Should we go back to the video? I think we should. The Jan 6ers were all in prison since Joe Biden put them in there. What are you talking about? How do I know? They got pardoned after 3.5, almost 4 years in prison. I'm not sure if some of them did spend a complete 4 years in prison, but that was my estimate. 3.5 to 4 years in prison. I'm going to show the entire video. That's right, treason has been committed for 35 years in this country. Everyone shopping goods made inside the United States of America will never pay tariffs. And that's exactly what kind of goods Trump supporters purchase. Tariffs only hurt people buying their groceries from China.
And now to Bill Malhusian. He has a Fox News exclusive on the tragic consequences.
Hit the like and
of an
subscribe
unsecured
button.
border. Hi, Bill. Been waiting to talk to you all morning.
Waffle Jackson. New profile isn't even an American citizen. He's never visited America. He's never stepped foot in the great country of the United States, and he never will. If he does, Trump will deport him the minute he sees him enter. He won't even make it through customs. You're wrong. It only hurts if you don't buy American goods.
Yeah, Dana, good morning to you. This illegal alien had a lengthy rap sheet here in California long before he ever killed these two California teenagers. He's got several felony convictions on his record, several convictions for driving without a license, but he was still out and about on California's roads. And this young American couple ended up paying the price for that. And now their killer is getting an early release. It was November 2021, a fiery collision on an Orange County freeway. A young couple dead, and the driver who crashed into them, a twice deported illegal alien from Mexico with multiple felonies, in custody for being drunk, high, and speeding at nearly 100 miles per hour.
I got a knock on the door, and there's two police officers.
The pain written all over the face of Pavel Osokin, as he recalls being told his son Nikolai and his 19-year-old girlfriend Anya Varfolomeev, friends since they were kids, were gone.
They told me there was a horrible incident. My son and his girlfriend, Anya, basically were burned alive in their car. She was my daughter.
Anya's father, Anatoly, got a similar knock on the door that night.
He said Anya's name. I said, yes, it's my daughter. My wife came downstairs and she was screaming and crying. She said, no, 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 no.
In spring of 2022, a jury convicted Oscar Eduardo Ortega Anguiano on 2 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. A judge sentenced him to 10 years. But on Easter Sunday, the family say they received this notice from the California Department of Corrections that on July 19th, he'll be getting out.
2 years for
The most corrupt legal system in the entire country, California.
if they're gonna spend 5 and then 3.
You got 2 young, productive American citizens killed for nothing. And that illegal immigrant who already has been deported twice is going to be released again?
In a statement, the Department of Corrections wouldn't confirm the release, but said
Defending
that,
illegal murderers,
incarcerated
as usual,
persons may
per
be credited for
Democrats.
participating in rehabilitative
Keep
programs
defending criminals and murderers, because one day you'll run into someone like me and it won't be such a nice day.
Calling for Ortega Anguiano to serve his full sentence.
All those dreams were cut short just by one person who was not even supposed to be on that freeway. I will never forgive this guy. Never, ever.
I hope he's gonna stay in prison. I hope he's gonna get old in prison. and I hope he's going to get kicked out from our country.
Why are all these Democrats complaining about damn tariffs? They're paused, except China.
They have placed a detainer on this illegal alien with the California Department of Corrections. Their hope is that the state will transfer him to their custody upon his release from prison in July. As for the victims' families, they are now left wondering, what are 2 lives worth here in the state of California? They say, apparently, only a little more than 3 years. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Malusian, thank you.
So Tom Homan joins us from the North Lawn White House, and so thank you for your time today. There's a lot to get to, and I know for a lot of our viewers, we're covering a lot of different cases that involve very different people in different parts of the country in different states. Just react to Bill's reporting right there from California first. Let's begin there.
Well, look, you know, Bill, everybody asks why I get so emotional on network TV, why I get emotional when I testify, because I've met hundreds of angel moms and dads and hear every story. I'll never forget any of those stories. It's just a tragedy. But I'll make this commitment right now. I'll work with Secretary Noem on this case, and I guarantee you, if they don't honor a detainer, we have ICE agents outside that facility to take custody of this individual and deport him. He's been deported several times, which means he's a felon. Re-entry the country at the form of deportation is a felony. We will prosecute him and we will deport him. I'll make that commitment. I'll work with Secretary Noem to make sure that happens.
I want to bring up one other thing before we get to the bigger picture, and that is, for example, when someone on the left go against you, they will say, oh, it's just like 1 or 2 people, right? Well, that's not the case, as you know. And here's another example. There was a young woman, a mother of 2, killed in Maryland. Again, Maryland, mother of 2. Her name was Guerra. And she is one of Senator Van Hollen's constituents as well. Her mother, who is Lesbia Melith Ramirez Guerra, I'm sorry, that was the woman who was killed. The mother is devastated, just like those fathers were that you just saw. This is what Van Hollen said. I cannot imagine the grief and pain that the family of Miss Guerra is feeling right now. My heart goes out to them during this incredibly time.
Hit the like and subscribe button.
I thank all of those in law enforcement who have been part of the extensive search effort and investigation. Now Miss Guerra's family and friends and our community will see her suspected killer and anyone involved in this crime face justice in a court of law. Courts of law are where we punish the guilty and provide for the due process rights of all. That is why it is important to respect the rule of law and the decision.
Tom Homan.
The issue is the woman who was killed didn't get that chance for due process. There she is right there on your screen. And the senator, I know what the point he's trying to make, but the point the president was trying to make yesterday in the Oval Office is we have a huge number of illegal immigrants in this country that are affiliated with these gangs. And to go one by one is going to take years and years and years that we don't have in order to protect the rest of the citizens. So how do you think this gets solved in the end?
Well, first of all, Van Hollen's statement is just ridiculous. If he wants more safety for the citizens of Maryland, then stop being a sanctuary state. Work with ICE. When you arrest a public safety threat that's in the country illegally, work with ICE. Let us in that jail so we can get him in a safety and security jail rather than release them back in the public, which creates a public threat. And finally, you know, what's happening right now across the country, we have district court judges shutting us down across the country. There's a reason they're district court judges.
Profile, you're getting smashed in the chat right now. I feel bad for you. No one cares about your opinion. That's why you don't have your own channel. You just comment on mine.
We gotta get this to the Supreme Court as quick as possible. District court judges can't overrule the president's executive orders.
And what I said about tariffs was right. Trump put a pause on the new tariffs. And yes, he did put a blanket 10% tariff, but I wasn't wrong about anything I said. Enjoy your lovely invaded country of Canada or wherever you're viewing from. Please, Profile, let us know what country you're from. And stop hiding behind the comment section like you're a United States citizen. You're not a citizen of the U.S. You don't have a USA passport. You don't know anything about what you're talking about.
How do you interpret that?
I think due process was given.
He paused the tariffs. True or false? True. 100%.
He had due process. He was ordered removed by 2 different immigration judges. But here's what they're doing. But here's the plan. The Biden administration overwhelmed the system. 10.5 million people came to the border. They know it's going to take years to get through the court docket. By then, they're hoping there's another Democratic administration in. They'll have U.S. citizen children. Then all of a sudden, nobody wants them removed. We're spoiling their plans to have future Democratic voters.
Shout out the UK.
The census have control of the House through census vote. Democratic sanctuary cities get more seats in the House. This is their plan. That's why they overwhelmed the system. That's why they didn't detain them. When they detain them, they get a hearing in 35 days. They released them. Now it's going to take 5 to 7 years. They're going to keep playing this game through the immigration court, through appeal after appeal after appeal, district judge to slow us down, because their hopes is they'll gain power again, then they can award amnesty to 10 million illegal aliens that are released in this country illegally. That is their plan, and we're trying to remove these public safety threats and national security threats as quick as possible. They're putting every roadblock imaginable in front of us to prevent us from doing that.
My last question, I'm sorry about the lawnmower, but it'll be quick. Would it help you if Congress were to pass a law making it more clear on how to deal with this situation right now? Would that be of use for you all as you try to deal with it?
Absolutely. Congress needs to take action. They can solve the border crisis by simply addressing...
Thank you, David. Thank you.
The TVPRA on children, the asylum laws, and the Florida settlement agreement. If they make those 3 changes, no 3 laws, they've solved 90% of the border problems forever.
Hit the like and subscribe button for Trump.
Thank you, and thanks for dealing with that distraction there, sir. We will talk again soon, okay? There's a lot to cover, and we shall. Thanks. I'm Steve Juicy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube
and
page.
click here to fight against the globalists.
Compelling analysis.
Huh. Should we put on a little bit of classic Alex Jones? Do you guys want to hear some Alex Jones theories? Or should we put on a little Tucker Carlson to really make the libs eat it? Tucker. Spam the comments if you guys want to see Tucker. Spam the comments if you want to see Alex. Mikey Masters, RFK would be right if he's talking about me. I don't know, BD. I don't really... No, all the Democrats are commenting Alex. We're not playing Alex anymore. Alex and Tucker. Good point. That was a good interview. But I played that one recently, so I don't think I'm going to play it again. But, yeah, let's see. Let's find a video about him talking about Trump. Let's just start there. Let's see what he thinks. Alex pre-Ozempic. Alex doesn't watch Ozempic. Doesn't take Ozempic, I mean, sorry. Actually, fine. We're going to go back to the legendary interview. This is a good interview. I didn't play the full thing, but let's watch it. Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson.
And you tell me what you think. So for the past...
Okay, we're not going to play the part about yada yada 9/11. Let's just skip to something about Trump. Why the globalists are so scared of Trump. Okay, let's start there.
EU is refusing to end the war. They're trying to drag us into it fully. They're arresting their political opposition, Călin Georgescu in Romania.
Tucker Carlson.
They're not letting him run the new election.
He's an amazing man. I just talked to him.
Amazing.
The day before yesterday.
And then Marine Le Pen, that is super popular in the head presidential polls. So they have a judge find her guilty of nothing and take her off the ballot. You have the State Department under Biden admittedly working in Brazil with Lula to take Bolsonaro off the ballot because he's popular and then indict him. And they're talking about doing it in Hungary. They're talking about doing it in Poland. They said if AfD won, which they almost did, that the EU Commission might cancel that election. So the EU is really taken off the mask. And people that don't know, it was set up in 56 as a steel deal, Treaty of Rome. And they got the nations over time to sign away their sovereignty to it. And
I remember.
And an unelected commission with van der Leyen, up there running all of this. And she even came out, as you know, on Monday and said, well, Trump's blown up the international order. He's defeated the New World Order. And she said, okay, we're going to go ahead and agree, at least in principle, to what Trump is saying. And that's because the trade is completely one-sided. So again, Trump's move isn't just the perfect move. It's perfect in that it's the only moves we have left for us and for global stabilization. That's why anybody that cares about self-preservation for the whole planet should be fully behind Trump's policies that are very popular around the world and are seen as sane. And again, the world, this huge alliance of nations, wants to join that team. And the good news is Trump's polls are the highest ever. I know the American people are understanding that and getting that.
Alex sounds like he smokes 2 packs of Reds a day.
I mean, I'm getting,
That's kind of funny.
Part of the year. I know a lot of rich people, and boy, they're really upset. And I share their instinctive concern about any chaos. My parents got divorced. I hate chaos, right? So I get that. But from my perspective, I'll just admit it, like on my phone, it's like, I voted for Trump. What the hell's going on? And I get it. I'm not, criticizing anyone. But then his numbers go up.
Well, I like
it shows you that you can, even I really make a big effort to live in different places, know different people, not be a captive of my surroundings, not just live among rich people with dumb rich people attitudes. Really try to be bigger than that. And I always flatter myself that I succeed, but even I am I guess kind of captive to that, because then I see the numbers and I'm like, people really like this. His numbers went up after the tariffs. That's correct, right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Well, I'd like to talk to folks out there saying Trump is being a destabilizer. The globalist order was collapsing by their own corruption and mismanagement and their alliance with China being double-crossed. And so that old order was already being collapsed by them. And Trump's coming in very pragmatically with a good, fair, freedom-based, meritocracy, competition-based system. But to people that want to talk about destabilization, starting the war with Russia, total destabilization, dissolving the borders and all the human smuggling and the fentanyl, total destabilization, in engaging in all this overspending and the country basically being bankrupt if we don't grow our way out of it, total destabilization. And then wink, wink, the attempted assassinations of Trump. What do they think would have happened if Trump really would have gotten killed in Pennsylvania in July of last year, or a few months later in Florida? If you look at the scenarios there, they run from bad to worse. So the real destabilization...
And bad for the people behind it. Clearly those assassinations were not lone gunmen. They were part of a much, much larger conspiracy, obviously. Everyone knows that. But those people behind those attempted murders would have been in bigger trouble had those murders succeeded, attempted murders succeeded, correct?
Absolutely. And if somebody's able to kill Trump now, people better hope he doesn't get struck by a bolt of lightning, because the bad guys will get the blame. And that's why so many people that have kind of been on the fence, the establishment, but we're working with the globalists, just because that was the system, are enthusiastically joining Trump and Elon, because they understand that this is the only game in town for people that aren't delusional. But you have that megalomania.
I think that's so true. Yeah.
You have that megalomania historically when elites have never lost before and are losing, that they just continue to accelerate and intensify it. And I know you've covered this. A lot of the people don't seem to know that in August of 2020, I mentioned it earlier, there was a big article in the New York Times with John Podesta covering a war game they just had, that if Trump was able to win, they were going to have blue states secede and blue cities secede and then create civil unrest and civil war conditions. And then when they knew Trump was going to win because the poll numbers were so incredible a few months before the last election last year, Raskin, Carville, Podesta, all of them said civil war conditions. We're going to need to have uprisings. Carville said that. Trump's coming to kill you. We got to rise up, Carville said, and others. And they are clearly escalating with the Tesla attacks and the swatting attacks and the calls for violence. The 55% of liberal Democrats in a study want Trump killed. They are embracing real terrorism, real domestic terrorism, and that's building towards what I believe is in the cards, because you see the Democrat pundits and their operatives everywhere before the election and after it in the last 78
I see their operatives in my comments.
Once he got in office, Trump and Tom Homan are going to kill migrants. And when they do, there's going to be an uprising. And, well, Trump's not going to go mow down people at an illegal alien demonstration. You also have them saying Trump supporters are going to attack black people. Well, where would black people be alone in big numbers? A church, a university. Trump supporters are going to kill black people. And we know a lot of the globalist groups have been funding white supremacist groups and domestic terror groups and basically run them historically. So the last piece of all the pre-programming I've seen is that to have these uprisings, we're going to need something much bigger than George Floyd, much bigger than Jesse Smollett. And so I am predicting on the current trajectory of what they were game before and what they said, the final piece they need for this destabilization that they'll label a race-based civil war that will then crash the markets and be used kind of like their predicted programming in the movie that came out last year, Civil War, to have a bunch of states and the main military join them in a military operation to remove Trump when the Trumpian figure in the movie is killed, and executed inside the Oval Office. And so that's their dream. That's their backup plan. And you have the two camps. One camp is kind of the Chucky Schumer, it's completely evil, but isn't particularly publicly pushing that, though he had his famous whirlwind, we're coming after you speech.
But he's an old man.
Absolutely. So you have the Soros wing with Alexander Soros that more and more is in charge and is really making a run at escalating domestic unrest and terrorism, leading into some triggering event, things are aligning for this summer. And I know that folks in the government that are patriots are aware of that, but I think that the spokespersons and others need to really get ahead of all this calls for violence and not just repudiate it, but talk about the Democrat leadership and their talking heads that are pushing it. I mean, we've seen Colbert just last week say, deep state, please, do something, stop Trump. And so that's where we are. So they want to expand war to try to take control of the agenda. They've been hyping a new virus being released to try to stop Trump's reboot of our economy because they think that would stop this populist revolution. In Europe, it's arresting their political opposition and stopping elections. And they also have Europe trying to sue Elon Musk and billion-dollar fines, trying to shut him down, like we saw with Brazil. So those are the different strategies. They're also doing big put options and naked shorts, trying to crash the market and then blaming Trump's tariffs on that. So it's economic terrorism, the buildup of domestic terrorism, the false flags that can be used, a nuclear false flag to get us into direct war with Russia, a new viral release. Those are the things they've got set up, ready to go, and that they've said before they would use to maintain control.
Everybody loves and appreciates first responders when things go.
Yes, we do, Tucker, but we're not going to sit here and listen to your advertisement. We understand your channel isn't monetized, Tucker, but we're not going to listen to your advertisement. So let's get past that.
Right now is the United States because of the First Amendment. So how do you end First Amendment protections? Well, you pick off people like you, which they've been trying to do for over a decade. And, I happen to be, as I've told you many times in private, I happened to be on a fishing trip when I worked at Fox the night that you were taken off the air. And I thought it was like one of the greatest threats to speech in the United States I'd ever seen. I wasn't there, and Fox News prevented my fill-in host from defending you because Alex Jones is bad. Okay, that's when I realized they were in on it. But they need to end speech in the United States. They need to shut down X. They have to. And my guess is, and I hope I'm wrong, that there is legitimate hate and extremism on social media, to the point where it makes me uncomfortable. I'm thinking that maybe a lot of that is manufactured, actually. And that if there is a mass shooting, and God forbid, but if there is a mass shooting of the people who've been targeted for hate on.
Have a great day,
actual hate,
Momo.
it's true on social media that will be used as a
Hope
pretext
you
to
smash
shut
the
it
like
down.
and subscribe
Absolutely.
button.
And
Has this occurred to you?
yes.
Because I see people on
Waffle,
social media
that's
who
funny.
I know for a
Thank
fact
God Carl
who
Schwab
think are being
retired.
funded by the very people they're attacking. It's like, what? Including one of the biggest
Thank you,
voices. Like, I
Momo.
know that that's true.
Have a
and
great
it's like,
day.
what is this? And it's clearly preparatory to some sort of event that will shut down, a violent event that will be used as a pretext to shut down free speech. Am I being paranoid?
No, that's where all the foundation's been laid. Actually, the superstructure has been built.
Yeah.
They're just putting the finishing touches on it. And so in a way, it's fortuitous that I'm here today, because you were here where I was talking to my lawyer right before we started taping. We got some really big news that in Connecticut, the Supreme Court said we're not even hearing your appeal now because it was so strong. The kangaroo show trial that I went through there a few years ago, where the judge had already found me guilty. Wouldn't let
Guilty of what? Of having an unauthorized opinion, of being mean or whatever? Those are all legal under the U.S. Constitution. Like, you cannot be punished for giving your opinion. I don't care how ugly other people think it is. And you've contested whether you even gave that opinion. It doesn't matter. Under our system, you're allowed to say what you think, period.
Well, you're right, especially...
That's what the Bill of Rights is.
And we have the Supreme Court rulings with the New York Times, Sullivan.
Insane.
And
Brandenburg versus Ohio. You have a right to your opinion.
And what they did was, with all these PR firms and massive thousands of articles, sometimes a month, and hundreds of TV programs a year, they built a straw man once I was censored off the internet the last 7 years. Still on my website, Infowars.com, still on some talk radio, but it was the verboten thing. People had to go, get underground. They could then build a straw man of things I had supposedly done I never did. And then when I wasn't defended, other than people like you, it set the precedent to then come after everybody else, including President Trump, when he was taking off everything on January 6th. So people couldn't hear him saying be peaceful before, during,
I defended black nationalists who hate whites. Obviously don't agree with them. I am white. So are my kids. Like, I reject their program. But they were indicted for giving their opinions. And, like, we cannot allow that. And now the ACLU is just completely captured. It's like a trainee organization. Nothing to do with free speech. Like, where are the people who will stand up for the foundational right that separates a free man from a slave, which is the right to say what you think? And why were they all silent? May they bask in shame for not defending you. I mean that.
Well, I have a major update. It's in the last 7 years of them suing me and this whole saga, we now have basically all the pieces of exactly what happened. I told you some about it last night. It would take a few minutes, but I could just give people a basic summation of what's happened.
Yeah, please.
But first, just an example of free speech. In Texas, there's famous cases where they take people's small children, because the school secretly convinces them with grant money, they get paid for it, public and private. A little boy's really a girl, a little girl's really a boy. Then the parents find out the school's been putting them in a database, giving them a social worker, sending them to special school times with peer pressure of other kids that have been put in the cult, forced sterilization, transhumanism. And then they take the person's child, saying it's abuse, when you argue, my son is really a boy, not a girl. Well, now Colorado in the House, as you know, just passed the bill. It's in the Senate, and they allowed no debate, saying that if a parent finds out their kid is being brainwashed and says, no, my son is a boy, my girl's a girl, that is abuse, and they're going to officially take your child. Other states have passed laws like Oregon and Washington. So you talk about free speech. This is beyond that. This is parental rights. This is everything. Now say parents can't argue and say to the state that has determined that your child's other sex, and then in places like New Jersey and other states, the hospital systems now have on the form when your child's born dozens of things, transgender, all these other names, gender queer, all these things where the parents pick at birth what the baby's going to be.
New profile is gender queer.
So if the state wants to come and say they're another sex, that's okay. If parents don't like it, their kid gets taken in these areas. That's where this is going. It's already happening. But if the parents want to opt in, they can decide for their child. So as long as you decide that we're going to chemically and then medically sterilize surgically this poor little person that's being put into this death cult, then it's okay. The only thing you're not allowed to say is no. I say no to this designation. So that's where Alex Jones having his speech massively attacked goes. So it's a long story, but here's the summation. I didn't understand, even though I know a lot of things about politics in the world. I didn't understand how PR firms work, how law firms work, how the deep state was operating. And they later admitted, even on MSNBC, that a few years ago, we've been successful with Alex Jones. Next, we're going to do it with people like Tucker Carlson. And they mentioned you. So Hillary knows she's in trouble. 2 months before the election, 2016, she does a $20+ million ad buy talking about me and twisting what I had said about that event in Connecticut, that mass shooting. And then the ad, she says, Alex Jones is Trump's brain. This is the guy that Trump says is an amazing person. We'll be talking a lot. You're a great guy. And they show that clip of Trump on my show saying that. So they created a demonized version of me to attack Trump. Then that made me this huge demon with the left even more. Then for 2 years, articles every day, sometimes dozens a day, TV shows, programs, PBS, CNN, MSNBC, every channel, foreign news, Tokyo news, Russian news. It was being pushed over. Alex Jones is bullying kids, parents of dead kids. Alex Jones is sending people to pee on graves. None of that ever even happened, much less me. And then they sue me, and then they want all this discovery, and they say, who do you work for? Who's telling you what to do in the Republicans in all these depositions? Of course, it wasn't there. So they hold me in default for saying I didn't give them my secret plan to get rich off these people that I barely ever even talked about. They put 22 minutes of evidence in the Texas show trial where I was found guilty by the judge and the Connecticut show trial that were only a month apart in 2022 in the fall. So I go in, HBO's producing it, cameras, putting makeup on the judges. I'm given 20+ things I can't talk about. My lawyers are sanctioned if they try to raise that. Well, where did Alex Jones say this? Where did he do this? No evidence could be showed to counter them. They could just say whatever they wanted to. And then they have $1.5 billion judgment in Connecticut. They have a $50 million judgment total, or $49 million in Texas, because I'm already found guilty. Then the judge tells them to say how guilty I am. They lie and totally exaggerate all the money I have, say I got it from these people with no evidence. And so I knew I was being railroaded for my speech. They said in the Connecticut trial and in the Texas show trial and on the courthouse steps, we don't want money from Mr. Jones. We want to shut him down. They said that in court filings. So I go into bankruptcy because I'm out of money personally, never had all this money, they said, not even a fraction of it. And so for 3 years, I'm in bankruptcy. And they keep going and say, we don't want money, we want him closed. The judge keeps saying, no, you have to actually, do a settlement with him, or we have to sell Infowars.
This is all because you said something that other people said they were offended by?
Yes, but
how can you, I don't understand in a free country how other people being offended by what you say can have you destroyed by the state.
Well, it's more than that. They said I sent people to their houses. I peed on graves. All this stuff that nobody did.
Why weren't you arrested? You can't pee on a grave. Why weren't you arrested?
I've never been to Connecticut.
Why weren't you arrested for peeing on the grave?
Out of the people that sued me, I only said the name of one of the people ever.
If you commit a crime, you should be criminally charged for it, and the state has to prove that you did it, at which point you're convicted and punished. If the state accuses you of something but doesn't charge you with it, they're fucking liars. Like, by definition, they don't, that's not on the list of options that they can just discredit you, attack your character, destroy you. No. The state has one option. If you committed a crime, they charge you with the crime and they prove you did the crime. It's that simple.
That's right. And I never got investigated for stalking or anything because I did nothing.
For any crime.
So here's where it gets crazy. Here's what we've learned since they had the show trials.
I noticed none of the libertarians defended you either. Where was the Reason Foundation and Cato and all these supposedly freedom-minded nonprofits who are freaking liars? Like, none of them defended you that I know of.
Bare minimum, they were bought off or they wanted to keep their head down. So here's what we learned.
Hit the like and subscribe
The Democratic Party and the Justice Department, the FBI, and the CIA. This has come out in court, come out in documents now. We've got it all. I published it at Infowars. They could be shut down literally in days now. We're finally up to the wire today with this big ruling. But it's the truth's out there, but they don't want you to know it. So they come after me to demonize Trump. Then they run ads on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere for the 2 years before they sue me, 2017, 2018, saying I'm attacking him, saying I'm coming after him, using my name to raise money. Okay, it turns out hundreds of millions using my name. This has come out. Saying I'm victimizing him, and then never showing what I supposedly did. Just, this man's hurting us, help us, help us. Then I was already taken off the internet after that for other reasons that they cooked up. They had Lester Holt get up on TV and say, Alex Jones called for people to get battle rifles and go attack Democrats. No, I talked about them, Antifa attacking your house and how they were planning to attack more people's houses. And I said, none of us are going to be violent. But I said, everybody needs to have their battle rifle ready or their shotgun in their home if the left comes to kill you.
Well, as someone whose house was attacked by Antifa, I agree completely.
But then Holt never showed what I supposedly said.
Right.
He just said straight up. Okay, so I wasn't even taken off internet for Sandy Hook because I wasn't even known for that. Okay, barely ever talked about it. Then they sue me. Then they run more PR. Then they raise more money off of me. And then when they didn't find anything in their all their discovery, because there was nothing that I did, then they have the judges both find me in default, coordinate for both trials to be held in a month and a half period in late 2022.
So
And then
chocolate
after
milk
they
will
win,
do.
The jury's fined for all this money. They come back and they say, that's not enough, Your Honor. We want 2.75 trillion. That's the GDP of India. People don't believe that. Just type in Alex Jones, Sandy Hook, 2.75 trillion. And so the judge said, no, you just get 1.5 billion.
In retrospect, did you ever think when they awarded a judgment against you equivalent to the GDP of India, did you ever think, like, maybe I should keep my visions to myself and not, like, next time I see 9/11 coming, I just shouldn't say anything because people who predict the future accurately are always punished for it?
I think that's, yeah, I mean, well, what I realized was I've got something important to say, so I better say it even louder because the evil wants this shut down. But just to finish the key part, I'm
sorry.
No.
It's making me upset hearing this.
No. I'm saying I haven't gotten to the big stuff. I'm just giving people the background.
This is not the country I grew up in at all. Just saying that. Sorry.
Well, no, you're right. Thank you for the platform. No, thank you, Tucker. And I told you all this last night. It took 30 minutes. Let me just try to condense it. So I know they're trying to demonize me to get at Trump. I know they're trying to set the precedent to shut down everybody else. And once I'm demonized, they think nobody will defend me, and that sets the precedent. They admitted all that. Then when they win the show trial that was already fixed, these PR firms come out of Newark, Connecticut and go, we've been doing this for years. We exposed Jones. We did this. We helped get this big win. Blah, blah, blah. Then this undercover video comes out that is in a predator sexting trolling operation in D.C., which the guy was never implicated in, but that's how he got caught up in the trolling operation. This Oblevis person, CIA and FBI, it's confirmed, says, well, we investigated Alex Jones for years at the FBI. Then he went on to the CIA. That's where he's currently. And he said,
you're right, Upgrade. You're right.
So we went to the Sandy Hook people.
I hope you're subscribed to the channel because you're 100% right.
To take him down. And now we're in the process of shutting him down. And the person says, well, are you still trying to put him in prison? No, we've just destroyed his name and destroyed who he is. You know, it's all on video. It's online. Just type in FBI, CIA agent, admits to running Sandy Hook frame job of Alex Jones.
We recommend you take this moment to do what we're about to do, which is enjoy an Alp.
Okay, that's a bit weird, Tucker. A bit weird.
Obama administration ordered me to be a level 3 terror national security threat in 2013. I had Kyle Seraphin on, who knows how to read the code documents on the dozens of pages I got that were attached. He said probably to thousands, but 196 other investigation packets. And we're talking weekly and monthly meetings out of the Boston field office. And Trump didn't learn about this as first at admin. So we learned this was going on until I was sent this by the new FBI director, okay, or the new FBI. And it's just the cover sheets, but they have codes on it that Kyle Seraphin used to run counterterrorism, the FBI, huge whistleblower, came on my show for hours and documented what it meant. Then he talked to his sources currently in D.C., and they said, yeah, we're actually on this. It's bad. Okay, so Obama illegally had me declared a national security threat, open criminal espionage investigation with huge resources. HUMET, attempted infiltration, that's all the codes. And that's now makes sense. People we hire trying to set us up, trying to get us to commit crimes. All this stuff over the years, hacking into our surveillance camera systems, trying to find something dirty, all sorts of sabotage. So now, I'm living in a spy movie. So we get that like 10 days into the Trump administration. 3 days in, they mail it. It comes to the mail like 7 days later. So now we have that. So we have Oblevis admitting it from the FBI and CIA. We have the other lead counsel in Connecticut admitting it on the stand. Proud of it. How do you blame for you? Just because they knew it would come out. Then we get another FBI contact. They say, why don't you go look at the Federal Register and look for money going to these Sandy Hook foundations of the people that sued me. We go look, it's $4 million plus in payments to them right after they sue me, and then 2 payments to them during when both trials started. So one
payments from whom?
From the Justice Department.
So tax dollars?
Tax dollars, over $4 million from the Justice Department were paid to the main Sandy Hook foundation that is on the board, at the head of it, for the people suing me that ran it.
This is crazy.
So now we have the Justice Department, and
Thank
releasing
you,
those
Alice.
documents. Was actually planning to release them today, a week ago, before you invited me out here. So that's all going to be out today. The documents, all of it, but it's online. They don't hide it. Also, millions and millions and millions more of COVID money went to them. And you know what happened to Cori Bush's husband. I'm not saying it's illegal. It should be looked into. So this is why this is important. This is the most open and shut, start to finish operation we've ever seen, with all this money directly from the Justice Department, with the Justice Department admitting they initiated it undercover tapes with the CIA. Then you have the FBI admitting on the stand that they initiated it. Then you have the money directly from the Justice Department to them directly when they're attacking me, and then it gets worse. In the last year in my bankruptcy, before that, they attached a U.S. trustee, which they know under federal law, to my bankruptcy, like I'm Enron. Most people don't have this happen. So there's Justice Department and agents at my depositions giving me U.S.
Buster, you're 100% right.
After I'm sworn in, that if I say anything incorrect, they're going to charge me with felonies. Okay? But I still don't take the fence. I've done nothing wrong, and I have accountants, and it's all lies. They're alleging I've stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from these people. None of that's true. I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars. I've never had $10 million of extra laying around.
You stole money from what people?
They just say, I harassed them, I made money off them, it's their money. It's just all made up. But I have the Justice Department there. So then the Justice Department has the U.S. trustee in May of last year order a private security company on a Friday evening to show up with guns on their sides and say, everybody out of the building. And I say, where's the court order? And I say, call the head of your security company. I get on the phone, he goes, hey, I'm telling the people this too. We got to have a court order. I'm going to tell them.
They showed up at your office?
They showed up at my office.
With guns?
Armed security, yes.
Yeah.
And so I call my lawyers, they don't even believe it's happening. We get a hearing, and the judge blocks it. Then he has a full evidentiary hearing, June 14th. Fires the U.S. trustee, removes them, removes the CRO that did it, okay, in the bankruptcy, and then appoints a new one who comes in to be all buddy-buddy. Then he says, okay, we want to sell it. And then that way proceeds have sold Infowars. But then we have buyers that are good that'll keep it going. The Sandy Hook families, really Democratic Party, says, we don't want money in court filings, we want it shut down. The judge says, no, you will sell it at an auction, but cash auction. Then they have a auction date set. The day before, they say that's canceled. It'll be private bids turned in on that Monday. And then the next day, we will tell you who the winner is. Well, then it was the Bloomberg financing, his Everytown group, The Onion. Everybody heard The Onion had gotten Infowars. Remember that? Back in November. So all that happened. So we countersued. The judge has hearings on December 9th and 10th, says there was never an auction. It was fraudulent. You guys need to settle this, and you need to get money for Mr. Jones's buyers, and it needs to stop. They come back to the judge 3 times and say, we don't want money. We don't ever want it sold. We want it shut down.
True blue.
So the judge said about a month ago, he said, okay, I'm done. This has gone on 3 years. Take it to state court. The state court is Judge Bellis that did the show trial with HBO. That's Judge Ware Gamble in Texas. It's Judge, that's the other judge in Connecticut. So it's Judge Ware Gamble, just like Judge Bellis running the show trial, finding me guilty. She has said as soon as she gets that, she's going to send in the constables from the county and just close the doors, lock it. Because they don't want the money they can produce. They don't want any of that. They want it shut down.
Can I just ask you a reality-based question here? So all of this stems...
Sorry, this is a long story.
No. It's a shocking story, but
anything that the radical leftists don't agree with is instantly a cult member or instantly a liar or it's instantly a lie just because they don't agree with it. Just so we're all clear. If they don't agree with it, it's a lie.
I just don't want to lose the baseline.
And it's never been told in full.
The baseline facts. Okay, so all of this
love 12.
stems from a school shooting in Connecticut.
12
years ago. And you suggested on air that there was something weird about this.
I covered other people saying that.
Correct. You did not commit the school shooting.
No. Adam Lanza did. And I said for years I believe it happened before they sued me.
Right. So we spent approximately zero time and zero money as a country trying to figure out why would Adam Lanza murder all these children? We're all against murdering children. Some of us are against murdering all children, including in foreign countries and here in abortion clinics, just against murdering kids. Okay, so I'm not going to see the moral high ground on kids to ghouls like this. So, okay, But we have no idea why Adam Lanza did this. No one trying to find out. You instead are being blamed, or the father of 4 kids, for the murder of all these kids when you had literally nothing to do with the murder at all. And the actual murderer is probably brain fried and SSRIs or whatever the cause. Like, no one cares.
Well, that's right. He was on SSRIs, like almost all of them. And exactly. And here's the finale.
But like, no one cares. It's like all these people jump up and down, including some of these parents, I assume. And like, I understand they're upset their kids are murdered. I mean, I have true compassion for them, but they're blaming you for it.
And then raising money, hundreds of millions off my name. And his mother bought the gun legally. And then Remington was bankrupted by it and paid $73 million to them. Remember that? It just goes on and on. And after they sued me, this one foundation's increase went up while they were suing me, and during the show trials, 375%. Let me give you the actual numbers. 337% to 119 million.
I absolutely do agree, actually, with the Maccabee. I don't believe everything Trump did was 100% correct. I don't worship this man as a god or anything. I believe in Jesus Christ. Trump has made lots of mistakes that I can talk about, but the liberals and the radical leftists never bring up any valid points. Very rarely do they ever bring up valid points. So to answer your question, I kind of agree with you what you say, but I don't believe everything Trump says, and I can criticize him a lot, easily. But I think he was the best choice for America, and he's the best hope for the future of the country at the moment.
Just during that period, and their main fundraiser was me, not to mention all the Justice Department, $4+ million they got. But here's
blaming you when you say the fundraiser was you. They were blaming you for a mass murder that you were horrified by and didn't commit, and ignoring the actual mass murderer, blaming everyone but the murderer for political reasons. So like they would
just say you. It's like that meme where Indiana Jones moves the idol and puts the bag of sand on there. They removed Lanza and just put me on there. And it was, he's coming, he's harassing us, he made all this money off of us, he's bullying, he's sending the stalkers, he's attacking, help, with just ads everywhere, help us find Alex Jones, help. And I hadn't talked about him in years and years, only talked about one of their names. I never even knew who this FBI agent was. None of my crew said his name.
Ernie, I love tariffs. I'm a conservative.
Any of his crew ever said your name? No. You ever post your picture, ever talk about you? No. When's the first time you heard of Alex Jones? 2016. And then he goes and does all this. But here's the finale. This is what I know when you talk to Trump and others. This is important because
anyone that says, "Oh, if you don't believe, if you're pro-abortion, you're not a conservative. If you're pro-tariffs, you're not a conservative." You guys must not have too many brain cells. I mean, I'm not really here to insult anybody, but there's different conservatives. Not everyone is fully on the far radical right spectrum of being a conservative. Some conservative people are more liberal. Some are more towards the right. Some conservatives are a little bit towards the middle. There's political spectrum. So can we stop saying you're not conservative if you don't believe this, or you're not liberal unless you believe this? I mean, that's the most ridiculous political point I think I've heard when it comes to political spectrums, especially.
This needs to be looked at. This is conspiracy against rights. We're getting ready to take action on this legally. This is violation of process. This is racketeering. I mean, cut and dry in my view, and that's what my legal experts agree as well. It's cut and dry. Turns out Paul Weiss, the big law firm that lost its intelligence agency clearances because they targeted Trump and they admitted to it. They came to Trump a month ago and they said, give it.
Hey, new profile. All 51 of us are still waiting for you to reveal what country you live inside of. Maybe you're too ashamed of your own country's politics and your own country's state to actually reveal what country you're a citizen of. Because I've asked you this multiple times, and it seems like you're not very proud of the country you live in to tell us. Maybe it's because the country you live in is going in the shitter. I think that's what's really going on here. That's why you're here to criticize America, because your own country is doing so poorly. You're afraid to tell us where you're even from.
Us back 50+% of our business. Let us have our national security clearance. We promise to stop doing lawfare against you and your supporters. And this is an agreement. and we'll spend $40 million on pro bono work that's non-political. It's in the agreement. Okay?
Subscribe, guys.
And that's, by the way,
Subscribe.
our legal action's about to come out. They just filed that 40 million of that 20 is their suit of me. And they list the lawyers.
That's their pro bono work?
And they've been coordinating the entire bankruptcy assault. They came up with the fake auction on record. That's come out in our depositions of them. We're suing them currently, but more's coming. They came up with the plan with the U.S. trustees multiple times to have fake auctions, and the judge said it was a fake auction. They're the ones that sent armed security in on Friday evening. I was leaving at like 7 o'clock, and there's all these guys showing up from the security company we'd already used for 8 years, but all these guys never seen. They're like, hey, man, we're told they're closing the doors, they're kicking you out for good tonight at 9. And we shouldn't have told you this, but I knew one of the guys.
No, I'm not here to insult your country, new profile, but a lot of us already have a feeling that you're from Canada. And I strongly agree, too. The way you type and you talk, I think you're from Canada, man. I don't insult all countries. There's plenty of great countries. I've lived in multiple countries before, but at the end of the day, I'm an American citizen. So if you're too ashamed to tell us what country you're in, then that's really sad. I feel bad for you, honestly. It must be a pretty bad place. If I'm lying, if you want to correct me what country you're living in, you can go ahead and tell us. If I was proud of my country, I would be telling everybody. Well, you're too scared to tell us what country you're in. Because you know it's not a nice place to live. There's plenty of good countries, European countries, South American countries. There's plenty of good places, but you're too afraid and ashamed and unpatriotic about the country you live in.
But now it's under the court. And then I get on the phone with the head of the security company.
I'm not insulting you. I'm telling you the truth. You still refuse to tell us what country you're living in, but you want to insult Americans and you want to talk about American politics? Well, what country do you live in? Please tell us. Please, I'd love to know what country you're in. If you're so prideful, if our country's so corrupt, if our country politics is so bad, yeah, tell us. Go ahead. Tell us what country you live in, please. We'd love to hear what country you live in, since it's so much better than American politics. Tell us. Tell us, come on. Are you scared? You're scared. I guess your country isn't too good then, because you don't want to tell us. I guess it isn't one of those good European countries or one of those good South American countries that there are out there. You can't admit what country you live in because it's a shithole. It's simple as that. You probably live in China or something and are complaining about tariffs because we're hurting your economy.
And he goes, listen, man, he goes, I got this lady saying, I'm a Justice Department official, Melissa Hazelton, and her lawyer, Freeman.
Oh, one more thing. Just like the other radical leftists, you don't have a pair of balls enough to actually tell us where you live. You're hiding behind a profile. You want to criticize American politics, but don't want to talk about your own country or tell us where you're from. It's okay. It's okay. We have an idea where you're from already.
Melissa Hazelton and Liz Freeman. And they're telling me, we are Justice Department officials. You must close it. He said, no, I want a court order. So then I had to sleep up there because they tried to hire another security company the next day. And I knew it.
Yeah, good point, Alice. This guy's a moron. Every country has been paying tariffs for years before Trump. And Biden also kept the same tariffs Trump put in his first term. He never got rid of them.
And I wanted to steal your office from you.
Listen, when they did the fake auction the next day, they came and turned the internet off because they knew I was going to appeal it. And the judge shut that down too. And I was out of there for a few days. So there was such an outcry. The judge ordered.
New profile is ashamed in his country. He's ashamed in his country. He's ashamed in his own country.
Paul Weiss has been running this whole thing with Koskoff and Koskoff. It's basically a total deep state operation.
If you would just have the balls to tell us where you're from, I don't care. I'm not going to criticize it. I'm honestly not. I'm just going to actually give you a little bit of respect for actually saying where you're from instead of hiding it. Because you want to talk about American politics, but you're scared someone else is going to criticize your country because it's probably a million times worse. And you know you live in a shithole, so you don't want to tell us what country you're in.
With Senator Blumenthal and his son. Okay, so this is on record, but
you're ashamed to even say your nationality.
So here they are telling Trump, oh, yes, we'll stop doing lawfare against you and your people. And then now they're billing that in the basic fine they agreed to with Trump. Yeah, that's what it is, unofficial fine. They are telling Trump, we're going to stop our attacks on your supporters and you. And now they think Trump, they know he's busy, that he won't learn that they've done this. So in my view, they need serious sanctions from the White House. If this isn't about me, I'm tough.
See, look at the man, Moo Cow. He actually has a pair of nuts. He has something that most radical leftists will never have. He's not scared of his nationality. He's not scared to tell us where he's from. New Profile cannot say the same. He's ashamed of his country and he's ashamed of his nationality. Shout out Uzbekistan. I know we don't agree on everything, but respect to you for saying your nationality and not hiding it.
This is about this saga. Everything I've told you is even worse than I'm telling you. The insanity of what they've done and the persecution would take days because they had 4 court ordered that my company had to pay for. And then if the money didn't come in, we wouldn't make it through those investigations. So I'd tell listeners, hey, buy our products. We've got to pay to be investigated. 4 different investigations, forensic accountants looking for dirt. They had the IRS audit me for a year. We got a $4.3 million tax return back. The IRS says we never do this. It went into the bankruptcy because I'd overpaid $4.3.
So not only are you a coward to tell us and you're not proudful of your nationality, but you don't want to get insulted, yet you want to insult other people's country. I never would insult your country. I already promised you I wouldn't. And I'm sure whatever country you're in is getting affected a lot worse than us because you're very ashamed of your own nationality. That's a sad life to live. Let's just assume he's in Palestine, everyone.
$3 million in 5 years because I tell my CPAs,
he's Palestine. He's from Palestine.
Because I don't have a target. So there are 3 years of investigation. I get a $4.3 million check back. And none of it was true. And then even the New York Times last year had to say, well, it turns out Jones had meager resources and never really had anything. Well, it was all lies. So it was all lies I did anything to him. It was all lies I made money off of. It was all lies I had all this money. And the point is now to last night, the Connecticut Supreme Court said, we're not even going to hear your appeal, and which is ironclad, abusive process, all the rest of it. Texas, the judge violated 3 laws cut and dry. I mean, the cap is at $5 million. She said, I don't care about the Texas cap. I'm doing 45.
He has no balls to even tell us what country he's from. He's hiding.
All of this lawfare, just like a judge found Trump.
We're making fun of you more for hiding the country you're from than actually telling us. Like you saw the other guy, he told me he's from Uzbekistan, and I showed respect to his nationality and his country. Meanwhile, you're hiding your nationality and country because it's a shithole. It's probably not even as good as Uzbekistan.
Did anything? You never broke any laws. They would have indicted you. Like, this is all so hallucinogenic. It's so crazy.
Well, imagine it's like I'm their chew toy, and they just chew on me.
But your crime, look, I just want to refer you to the very first moments of this conversation when I pointed out once again for the 100th time, you called.
Hey, Mr. Good Citizen. We got a foreign national hiding his nationality here. New Profile. He's scared to tell us. He wants to criticize America, but he lives in a shithole and is scared to tell us where.
Fact, I think, is responsible for everything that has come after.
Well, just think of the scandal. On record, Kyle Seraphin, and he showed me the conversations with high-level FBI that said they're investigating it. He's going to come back on the show, I think, tomorrow or Friday. Famous whistleblower. He read the documents, and we got a lot from it, but he explained, I mean, this is like terrorist designation. This is espionage. So I've had a full espionage, counter-espionage operation against me, trying to find something for 10 years.
So where's the DOJ? This is a test for the new Department of Justice, brought in on the explicit promise to end the corruption, stop using our justice system, which my ancestors helped build.
Buster, you're hilariously right.
Political army mobilized against domestic political opponents. That's not allowed. That's like Haiti stuff. We don't do that. It's not a Tantan Makut at the FBI. They promised to do that. So can they help you? Are they helping you?
Well, I'll say this. Trump, cut and dry, had the same stuff done to him. He's the only person on a wider scale that has had this, and you'll hear him say, it's unbelievable, it'll take a long time, it's unbelievable. I've studied the cases, so have you. It's the same kind of crap. A judge in New York finds him guilty, doesn't give him a jury trial. I mean, it goes on and on. So what they've done to me, they want to do to you. But if you want that string that pulls the whole sweater apart, they think because of the demonization of what they said I did to kids I didn't do, that the Republicans will be scared to ever defend me.
Oh, that's for sure.
When in truth, it's like the Mendez brothers, when people found out what they went through, they learned that they'd all been lied to about that. Well, this is like that. This is like what the story you've heard, folks, from start to finish isn't that. They saw I was famous. They saw I was big. They tied me to Trump to try to hurt him. Then they raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars off of me, got Justice Department money, had show trials, put out all this stuff I didn't do on record, and then now are not just trying to kill the Second Amendment, using these poor dead children who, God rest their souls, but the First Amendment as well. So this is outrageous, and it's a bellwether showing that Paul Weiss, that big Democrat law firm, one of the top ones, would literally tell Trump, okay, we'll stop doing political persecution. We admit to it. They confessed to lawfare against him and his supporters, his family. And then they're still doing it to me, and they're billing the money they said they'd pay in me. So it's a sick joke. They think Trump won't learn about this. And at the end of the day, I just want it to stop. And look, we've survived so much. People say, oh, they were going to shut you down here. They were shutting you down there. It's in the news they kicked us out of the building in November. It's in the news they kicked us out or tried to kick us out in May of last year. There was a bunch of other stuff that happened. My big deal is I'm not going to give up, because they've said we want to get the name Infowars, we want to confuse it and have chupacabras and Bigfoot, and we're going to act like we're Alex Jones. They claim they own my X account. Musk had to sue, get involved, and have them back off of that.
Okay, you guys don't want to see Alex Jones anymore.
The Democrats in their filing in bankruptcy 6 months ago said that the amendment against slavery, was it 13 or 14? 13, doesn't apply to me. That's, you can read it in Bloomberg from the filing. They said he is a special type of person. And so just like Prince signed away his rights to a record company for his name and his music, I never signed away my rights. So they're saying they own the name Alex Jones. In the court filing, they say they own the name real Alex Jones. They're saying they own all my catalog of material, even though it's always been free to air and it's my political views and it's open. They can't do that. I can write a book and publish it to the world and say it's free. Somebody can't sue me and get a bankruptcy letter and say they own a book I gave away copyright free. My show is owned by the world, but what is it they don't want? It's because my older shows, going back 30 years, are ultra green. They're not evergreen where they stay the test of time. They get more important. And so the system knows that those clips are getting hundreds of millions of views, some of them, where I lay out and predict hundreds of subjects and what's going to happen. And then I explain, though.
So that intellectual property is at stake.
They are preposterously, this is new law. They think off of demonized Alex Jones, they say this, they can set a precedent to not just censor you, not just take Tucker Carlson off the air, and they said you're the next target, literally. I say the clips, you didn't see them, on CNN, MSNBC, that they will then take your identity, which under the prohibition of slavery and under the prohibition against slavery in the Texas Constitution, all the others, you can't take someone's name, you can't even take someone's tools under state law in Texas. But no, they are saying that they own the name Alex Jones.
And they own your archive of content.
Yes, and they say that they want to twist it and make fun of it. They had the Onion owner with the Everytown Bloomberg representative on this. They let Bloomberg pay for it.
The new Onion owner is just an intel cutout. I mean,
absolutely. From MSNBC,
I'm very aware. Yes,
a censorship operator. That was his job.
Yeah, who has literally no sense of humor at all. It's the most humorless drone working on behalf of entrenched power, like in the United States, and he's running the comedy site. It's like the Babylon Bee. It's also fake.
And he's the MSNBC version of Brian Stelter.
Oh, I'm aware.
Well, I know you're exactly. So what I'm saying is it's a constellation of operatives, corporate, media, government, Justice Department, the trustees, all of them. And they just, like an army, believe they're still going to beat America.
Oh, I know.
And they see me as a populist, firebrand, folk hero. And they said that themselves, and they want to silence and destroy that person so they can then take the identity of that and turn me into Satan. So
Meanwhile, Adam Lanza, the guy who murdered all those children, is totally forgotten.
Yeah, and I almost apologize. I don't really talk about this a lot on my own show. It's just come to a head today, and I'm very honored you let me run on and on. But I mean, folks, this is your country, your world. This was done. What I've told you is 10% of it, okay? I mean, this is an incredible scandal. The law firm that confessed to Trump to try to destroy him illegally with Lawfare and said, don't worry, sir, we'll do $40 million of good work, non-political. Half of that in a filing last week is me. They have gone and filed that half of our $40 million is what we've done to Alex Jones. I mean, come on. I mean, look, I don't care what happens to me. I just hope Trump takes away their national security clearance, because they're not going to stop what they're doing, and those other law firms know exactly who they are.
I agree. And you'd love to talk to the person who negotiated that deal and see if he's aware of it.
Oh, I wonder who that is in the White House.
Yeah.
Maybe they should be looked at a little bit.
Yeah. So,
wonder what they got.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm just speculating here. That's why we need to investigate, because I mean, you know this in racketeering laws they passed. If the mafia says, oh, you better hire my cousin and pay me 10% or something might happen to your grocery store, and then they burn your grocery store down, they start investigating, they learn how the criminal networks operate. The mob boss doesn't say go burn it down. He just says, yeah, that guy's not paying. And they all want to mount my head on the wall. Like you've got, that great deer mounted on the wall over there. They want Alex Jones's head on the wall as a symbol to scare everybody else. I mean, they said that in the courthouses and on the courthouse steps. They said, send a message to everybody else, these patient zero. Yeah. We're going to take him off the air
and obey,
and destroy him, and we're going to scare every one of these other Americans to keep, I mean, literally, it's like in Bug's Life when the head grasshopper says, yeah, we got all this grain. Why are we going to go beat up the ants because one little ant stood up? And he goes, yeah, one little grain doesn't hurt. But he goes, but if they all stand up, and he pulls it and it floods them. He goes, if those little puny ants outnumber us 100-1, and if they ever figure that out, it's over for us. That's why we're going back to kill that ant.
That's exactly right.
That's it. So I'm just the ant in Bug's Life.
You are, but it hasn't worked. And so I want to make a prediction, because I just want to be on tape saying this. I'm going to say it again even more clearly this time. And of course, I hope I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong. But I do think a lot of the really crazy, bitter, ethnic hate that you see on social media is fake. It's people were saying it don't mean it. I think it's like, the Klansmen you'd see marching, and you're like, there are no Klansmen. And you're like, what? And of course you find out that it's fake. And it's designed to convince people that there's like a lot of roiling ethnic hatred that doesn't really exist. And that's a predicate.
Yeah, Patriot Front.
Exactly. It's Charlottesville. But that's happening online right now. And I know that it is. And I think that at some point, I pray I'm wrong, but there's going to be an act of violence, ethnic-inspired violence, of hate-inspired violence, actual hate, like killing people, and I really hope I'm wrong, but I feel like this is real, and that event will be used to shut down free speech on social media.
100.
Because that is the threat. And you saw with TikTok, like, oh, we need to ban TikTok because China owns it. No, nothing to do with China. It had everything to do with opinions that the people in charge didn't like being expressed there, and it's like, we're just going to, and the Congress went along with it. But if there's an act of violence and innocents are murdered, and I pray that doesn't happen because I hate that above all, but it has happened, and I feel like it could happen again. And people say, and a lot of good people will go along with it, just like they went along with the censorship of you and the destruction of your life, because they were told, like, he's bad. He had something to do with murdering children. And then people just shut down. They're like, I don't know. Alex Jones is sitting with murdering children, so whatever they do to Alex Jones, like, is fine.
And I can't tell you how many times in front of my family people walk up and they go, you killed those kids.
Exactly.
And I'll always go, really? I did, huh? And why am I walking around? And then just like, well, you know what you did. But what you said is so important. The last ingredients is the false flag on a big illegal alien demonstration or a black church. Because the Democrats keep saying, Trump's coming to kill the migrants. We got to rise up.
Yeah, or something else like that. But where innocents are murdered by a crazy person, or maybe an actual crazy person used, or whatever, or maybe it just happens organically. Maybe if you stoke enough ethnic division online, it's clearly bad. I mean, there are people who have, views that are, are mad at other ethnicities. I mean, that's real, okay? But there are also big actors who are not real. They're doing it on purpose.
And we know who they are. I mean,
yes, we do know who they are.
And for strategic reasons.
I don't want to get involved in all that filth, but
let's just say we've seen the documents separately.
100%. And they're stoking this stuff, and maybe it just organically inspires someone to commit murder, a mass murder. And again, I just pray, as someone who hates all violence, to say it again. I pray that's not the case. But
well, let's just say this. The people they're mainly attacking are the ones financing them. It's the oldest trick in the book, Hegelian dialectic. And so just be aware of that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and I just don't, And I think the only reason I bring that up is because I worry about it every day.
I do too, because that's the next big move.
Free speech is the foundation of a free society. Without it, it's not a free society. You're a slave. If you can't say what you think, you're a slave. It's really simple. And we don't have slavery in this country. It's a free country.
And when it happens, I pray it doesn't. That's the next move. So we're predicting this so that there's enough eyes and ears on it and enough people watching so they don't pull it off. Because that's the thing. Everything I used to predict basically came true because the globalists were still in power. They're so disorganized, have so many problems now. A lot of times when we're able to get out ahead of things, you and others and Trump and Joe Rogan, we're able, and Elon's the huge voice, second only to Trump, we're able to disrupt what they're doing and enough people see through it. So if it does happen, they try to stampede us into blaming whoever it is. Oh, the Crooks guy, he acted alone. Well, this will be some right-wing Trump supporter with a MAGA hat.
100%.
They'll get killed by the SWAT team.
He was inspired by hate online. Therefore, you're not allowed to have legitimate opinions or your own opinions. And, God can decide whether they're legitimate or not. But if you're a free man, a free person, you have a right to say what you really believe, period. And that cannot be encumbered, or else you're a slave.
Absolutely. And we get back to the spiritual battle here. I just want people to know that my lawyers just told me, I put you on speaker with them. They said I could be shut down within 2 days, 2 weeks. They are coming to shut down Infowars. We've survived so much, like a long boxing match. People are like, oh, yeah, right. No, this is very, very real. This has been very, very serious. And so, for now, people can find me on X at Real Alex Jones. But that part doesn't matter. People understand more and more how things work. All of your voices are so important. All of you sharing this interview, sharing the other great work Tucker's doing, all the courage he has and others have to really put it all on the line. We haven't even talked about Iran.
Well, give me your 5 minute. That I should say, I think this interview is going up tonight. We're going to try to get it up in a few hours, but that's such a dynamic situation. Steve Witkoff apparently is meeting directly with the Iranians, which I think is such a great, it's a blessing. But, and I hope for the best, but give us your 5 minute overview. What is that and where's that going?
Well, Iran's plan B for the globalist. And Iran's got its issues and its Shiite militias and all that. I'm not lionizing the mullahs.
Oh, you're not?
But they've been isolated. Israel has knocked out their proxy forces in Lebanon and in Gaza and in the West Bank. And Netanyahu is extremely unpopular. He's been indicted. And he said he doesn't want an investigation in January. He doesn't want an investigation of October 7th until the war is over. But then he never, is going to have the war be over. So I'm not even against Netanyahu. I'm not against Israel. I know most people in Israel don't war with Iran either. But he's been trying to drag us into war since 9/11. That's how long he's been around and in power off and on. Into this, and they have the most ballistic missiles in the world. What it is 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1, to even the Israeli anti-missile defense system. Israel, as you know, only has 3 big cities. They will get blown off the map by this. Conventionally, even if Iran doesn't have nukes and uses them, and the word is they do, Israel will nuke Iran, and then all hell's going to break loose. And in most scenarios, India and Pakistan start nuking each other. Saudi Arabia's got nukes. There's a lot of other countries that have nukes that people don't know about. You don't want even a limited nuclear war, because in most big threat assessment war games, and Tucker's an expert, at least he can attest to it, he talks to the experts, it breaks out. Kind of like your neighbor, has the Black Plague. Well, you might get it. Or your neighbor, has got syphilis, and God forbid you have sex with them. This is a lot worse than syphilis. It's a lot worse than TB. This is really dangerous. And Iran does have proxy forces in Europe and the United States that Biden let get in. And they really do have some of these sleeper cells that are here, that if this does go to full war, they can cause some major problems. And different foreign intelligence agencies are famous for spoofing Iranians and Saudi Arabian terror attacks. They could easily stage a big false flag to get us into a war with Iran.
I'm aware, yeah.
And they're also, the Russians have warned, and before they did, I warned, of attacks on nuclear power plants in Ukraine and Russia, try to blame Russia. Ukraine's done that, been caught. Ukraine and NATO tried to blame Russia for the Nord Stream pipeline. How laughable is that? Of course, Hirsch's information has been proven, that obviously it was the U.S. government with NATO. Hell, even Biden said, we'll get rid of the pipeline if you invade. So the globalists are very reckless. Again, 50% chance the Pentagon said if they started bombing Russia, Russia would nuke. They still rolled the dice. So we need really cool heads here. This is not like going into Iraq twice. This is not like going into Libya. This is not a cakewalk. Even for people that love to, buy a bottle of bourbon and sit back and get drunk watching.
Shout out Louisiana.
War, like so many sick people do. This is the main threat to civilization. And I mean, Tucker, you really have all the connections. You travel the world. You cover these summits.
I don't know anything other than I think that people in charge of a bunch of different countries are like reckless on a level that's without precedent in the modern era. And I don't think they're serving their own people, by the way, leaders like that. It's not just like, you've got a bellicose leader who's threatening war or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean the people he rules are being served. He's putting their lives at risk. Our leaders have put our lives at risk for no good reason. And so, I'm hardly an expert in anything. I'm just an observer, and it's just all so obvious. And I'm really worried about, my last question to you is, you get this sense that there's like a spirit of dullness or fantasy. Maybe it's connected to living digitally or something, but like smart, aware people are no longer smart or aware. They're sort of sleepwalking through this incredibly dangerous moment, and they don't even acknowledge any of it. And I'm like, what is that?
Well, that was the description I was going to use.
There's like a mist that settles over all of us, and like we can't. It's like no one is even like awake. What is that?
Well, that's how I describe it. It's how you describe it. We're sleepwalking into Armageddon. The Bible calls it a spell.
It feels that way.
Medically, they would call it a trance. And since the advent, I say that sarcastically, of television, and everybody gathering around it, people are way more highly suggestible. Most people are closer to a near dream state or daydream state pretty much all the time.
It feels that way.
You go to a movie, you see everybody kind of drooling. and I've never really had a lot of suspended disbelief. Even when I was a kid, I was always analyzing things.
Me too.
And so I guess that's a gift, but also it's kind of torture. It'd be fun to just be able to be mindless sometimes. But yeah, and the establishment itself is all about never actually making a decision they get in trouble for, having committees, having groups, having a kind of a policy where no one can be accountable. But then that creates a runaway train scenario where then only the most reckless people that are the craziest kind of become the consensus because nobody else wants to challenge them. And through Trump and Elon, saying, hey, we don't want war. We don't want a meat grinder. This is too dangerous. This is crazy. We want to stabilize civilization. We want to have more kids, not less. Every actuary shows we collapse if we don't. Those are conscious. Look at Trump, conscious, awake, sharp. Elon, conscious, aware, sharp. So many others. And then it's a system of kind of quasi-zombies and zombies run by a few kleptocrat, psycho, demon-possessed people that don't want us waking up the zombies. So that's why they're mad at me. It's why they're mad at Elon. It's why they're mad at you, is that we are trying to collectively get people to wake up because the wheel on the ship is so heavy and so big, a few of us can't turn it. But if we get more people politically engaged and aware, together we're able to turn the wheel as we're about to go over this waterfall 5,000 feet and get killed. And so it's people that are dialed in and conscious versus people that are unconscious in the middle versus evil that is driven by a very nihilistic, destructive force. And that's what the transhumanism is about. I mean, I remember 30 years ago reading government white papers that were public that listeners sent me, medical people, that they had human-animal hybrids they could grow in cows for organ harvesting. And of course, that's been admitted for 20 years now. But just last week, hundreds of articles. Oh, we can grow humanoids for organ harvesting. Don't worry, though. They don't have consciousness. We've already raised them at undisclosed laboratories. And then it's in the MIT, reports that they've done it. Or I remember 30 years ago, military bases have goats that are part spider that produce body armor out of their milk, but we don't show them to you. And then later they brought them out. And then, we have dire wolves living in an undisclosed location where we spliced 13,000-year-old DNA with a regular wolf. And my point is, the future's been here for a while. It's just not evenly distributed. So you've got this super advanced sectors of technology, literally in underground bases and facilities. And you've got an establishment, a very small technocracy that's even aware of those systems.
Yes.
And they don't want to give the general population access to that. So to them, they want a nuclear war. They think it's survivable in their underground bases. And Ian Fleming, former high-level OSS in MI6, wrote the James Bond books, became movies. Remember the 80s Moonraker with Roger Moore. And remember, there's a crazy billionaire with these other billionaires with an underground base in Brazil that's going to release a bioweapon on the Earth to kill everybody, but it only goes for a year. He's going to go up to space while everybody dies on Earth at their space station and then come back and repopulate the Earth. And he's a eugenicist, and they only have the best specimens of the humans to do it. And the movie Zardoz with Sean Connery in the 70s, and Logan's Run, and The Island, and THX 113A, and then you have Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World in 1932. His brother, Julian Huxley, was the head of the World Eugenics Society. When that got a bad name after World War II, they changed the World Transhumanist Society. He was the Director General of UNESCO, really ran the UN. And his brother, before he died, gave that famous Berkeley speech. It's an hour long. And I've read his book, Brave New World Revisited. It's nonfiction. Everybody should read it. And he says, no. The world's not going to be like Orwell with the SWAT teams. That's for the 1% that might resist. The real plan, the reason I could write Brave New World, is this was the consensus of the elite in Europe and England of the world we're going to build with genetically engineered people, a subspecies that serves us, everyone taking soma, everyone's controlled. And he explains in that Berkeley speech, if you don't read the book, he gives a synopsis that this is a real plan that he saw being in place by 2020. And so you have to understand Brave New World is an instruction manual of what they want to do. They want to turn humans into a commodity. That's why Obama calls it the end of history, where there are no more cycles, where everything's controlled, where 90% of the world population is reduced. And maybe if you serve them right or whatever, the 10% is here, but there's these gods on Mount Olympus, or these Elysium demigods that are the technocrats that control everything. And everybody is wired into their brains, and the technocrats control the AI, and then they play God. Like Ray Kurzweil said, I don't believe in God yet, I'm going to become one. You all know Harari, I don't believe in God yet, but there will be one in the cloud of AI. And so I'll just say this, the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray, as the famous writer said. And these people are prideful, they're satanic.
Yes.
And it's all going to end in disaster. We have to choose God, we have to choose justice, we have to choose free will, and we have to get out of nature more, and we have to disconnect from the system's lies, and then only go into the systems and basically tell the truth. And just know that if you're fighting evil, evil's going to come after you, but that's a blessing, and that it's very rewarding. And the experiences you have in that quest are the greatest experiences of my life. And you find out who's real, you find out who's not real. I just see the arrogance of these lawyers. It's warfare, it's lawfare, and through the agencies that are running them, and what they've done to me, they want to do to you. Like Trump said 1,000 times, they're not trying to get me, they got to get through me to get to you. That is true. And so that's why I do want to see action from the White House. I do want to see the Justice Department take action, because my case, because they felt like it's free game on me, that it's just open season. They've been more transparent. I mean, it's illegal, in my view, to have the Justice Department fund these lawsuits. It's illegal to have the FBI go create these. It's illegal for Obama to list me as a national security terrorist, to have a dragnet for decades, and then all of this concerted is the stalking. All of this concerted is the racketeering, and that's what it is by definition, conspiracy against rights. And then they're just sitting back laughing and going, oh, Trump, 40 million, to help poor people. We won't be political anymore. We're using it for Alex Jones. It's just, these people need to be called on this. They operate in darkness. They operate because people are too busy. They operate thinking you're never going to figure out what they're doing. And more, they're scared. But I would have thought with all this coming out, they would back off. No, instead they've gotten scared because the Connecticut Supreme Court and all them were going to hear this. Now they said suddenly they reversed it. No, we're not hearing it now.
Yeah.
Because they think just shut him down, shut him up. It's not going to work if they shut down Infowars. And I don't throw fights. I'm fighting right to the end. But if they're able to do that and everybody sees that, it's only going to make what I do that much bigger. But again, like when the establishment tried to kill Trump, that's when the establishment went from collapsing to collapsed. So their order's over. And I liken it, in closing, to Japanese soldiers, the last one, 27 years later, because the Japanese were losing in the Pacific, as you know, Tucker, they would dump soldiers out on islands to frustrate and harass the allies coming in, the U.S., England, and the Australians and the New Zealanders that fought the Pacific War. And so the last guy, 27 years later, was still on an island shooting at people and stuff, thinking that, he still had to fight for the emperor until he found out, no, the war's been over 27 years. So the radicalized death cult left, the Jacobins, are just running around like chickens with their heads cut off like zombies. Attack, attack, attack. Everyone's a Nazi. Cutting women off in traffic, getting out, beating up women because they're driving a Tesla, being proud of it. I mean, they have been radicalized into a cult. And that's what Klaus Schwab said. He said, we're going to collapse Western civilization by creating an angrier world. We've got to not target each other. We've got to target the policies and ideas of the globalists and dismantle the policies and have a big tent to unify behind stopping nuclear war.
You pray you live long enough to affect good.
Buster is 100% right, buddy. You're not an American.
Thank you, Tucker, so much. You're the best.
So it turns out that YouTube is.
You want to see? So, you want to see what tariffs New Zealand had? Okay, let's see. New Zealand tariffs on USA. General tariff overview. There you go. All you gotta do is ask ChatGPT what tariffs New Zealand had on the US. And you're telling me they had none, which is generally wrong. They have 15% GST on most imports. So, once again, another radical liberal proven wrong. New Zealand has established several free-to-trade agreements. However, the United States is not currently a part of those agreements. Jesus Christ, you guys have no brain cells. In response, the U.S. administration imposed 10% universal tax on all goods entering New Zealand. Onyx, you don't know what you're talking about. You're right, duty free. However, did you read this part? Several free trade agreements. However, the United States is not currently a part of these agreements. Can you not read? The United States is currently not a part of these agreements. Free trade agreement. United States is currently not a part of these agreements. Consequently, USA imports to New Zealand do not benefit from this. In response, the USA put a 10% universal tariff. What do you not understand? You're wrong. Onyx, you're wrong. New profile, you're wrong. Green Gordon, you're wrong. Ask ChatGPT, buddy. You have the same resource. It says right here, the United States does not have any free trade agreements with New Zealand. Even though New Zealand has, I'll let you read it because you're a little bit slow. New Zealand, I'll read it extra slow for you. New Zealand has established several free trade agreements that offer preferential tariff rates to goods from specific countries, provided that they meet certain rules of origin. However, the United States is not currently part of these agreements. Consequently, USA imports to New Zealand's do not benefit from the free trade agreements. Do you not understand? They do not benefit from reduced tariff rates under the free trade agreement. That means they have tariffs. Can you guys not read that? It depends on the good, Onyx. It depends on the good. It says right here, goods and services, a 15% on most imported goods. Calculated on the total goods value, shipping, insurance, and applicable duties. And right here it says tariff rates for certain goods like textiles. Okay, you can say whatever, that's a tax, whatever you want to call it. But right here in big bold letters, tariff rates for certain categories like textiles, footwear, processed food, machinery, steel, plastic products, tariffs of 5% or 10% may apply. It's like you guys cannot read. It's right in front of you. Look it up yourself. Ask ChatGPT. If you don't trust ChatGPT, ask DeepSeek. Ask Grok. Ask any AI you want. Or just open Google and Google it. It's 5 to 10%, and we hit them with the 10% universal tariff like we have on every other country right now. No matter what you guys say, it's always fake news. It's false. Oh, we don't have tariffs on this country. We don't have tariffs on that country. And all it takes is one Google search. New Zealand tariffs on US. ChatGPT. 5 or 10% may apply, depending on the good. Dems getting squished as usual. They have no brain cells. It's like they don't have access to ChatGPT. Do you guys have internet in your country? Because you're on my live stream right now. I think you do. Green Gordon, now that you're proven wrong, you say, who cares about New Zealand? I said the USA put a retaliatory 10% US tariff. They already had 5% or 10% tariff on us first. But obviously you guys weren't listening. Yeah, of course, he should put a blanket tariff on everything because they don't want to do free trade with us, and they already have a free trade agreement with a bunch of other countries. So yeah, Trump should hit them harder than they hit us, 100%. I'm sorry your country is affected by it. Cry about it. Too bad, so sad. Trump's killing all your poor countries with our tariffs while we get rich. How does it feel? How does it feel? We're getting rich while you cry about the tariffs. You can't get McDonald's anymore, fast food. It says you get hit with a tariff in New Zealand of 10%. 10% tariff for your McDonald's. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Yeah, what does New Zealand bring anyway that matters? I don't buy anything from China, and I'm not even in the States right now. So if I do buy something from China, it'll be tariff-free. Nothing I've bought has changed in the price, and I don't even live inside the United States at the moment. But at least I'm a United States citizen. So you guys are morons. You got proven wrong, and now you're upset about it. Cry about it. Cry about it. Your countries are getting destroyed. My country's getting rich off screwing your country. Ha ha. Ha ha. How does it feel? You're wrong. New Zealand had tariffs first. They should have never put them. Anyway, it was nice speaking to you guys, but yeah, I live in a country that basically doesn't have any beef or imports with the United States, but I'm a United States citizen, and I visit there all the time, multiple times a year, and I still have assets in the United States, so yeah. My country is making billions of dollars out of taxing these other countries with tariffs. So you're wrong, whatever your name is. M. Skittle. Anyway, let's see what Trump's new executive orders are. It'll make the liberals cry in here. Guess where I'm at? I'm in Europe, but I'm not a part of the EU because I don't believe in the EU corruption. Onyx is mad that we're tariffing his country because they wanted to tariff us first and he was wrong about it. Ha ha. No, I'm not in Switzerland. Switzerland's part of the EU, unfortunately, but Switzerland is beautiful. I'm in Montenegro. We don't import anything from the USA. And we don't have tariffs on China either, so if I want to, I can shop with Temu if I want, but I don't like to shop with China. Thank you, Alice. Thank you. It's a beautiful view to wake up to and have. It's kind of like Switzerland, but, a million times cheaper, and it's also not in the EU. Because like Alex Jones says, EU is part of the New World Order, and they're really corrupt. So I'm happy that I'm not in the EU anymore. Thank you, Lunchbox, but you don't got to be jealous because you're not living in New Zealand and you're not living in Canada like new profiles. So you're living a pretty good place, the United States of America, the best country in the world.
Meeting, and at the same time, we're signing some very important legislation.
Hit the like and subscribe button, though,
Right now, it's
if you guys are new here.
And having to do mostly with education. We have our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who's been so incredible over the last few weeks. I've been watching her on television. I'd like
Shout out Tennessee, a very beautiful place. I've been there. I've been to Nashville and Pigeon Forge.
We also have commerce, and we have labor with us today, and you have been, thank you very much, and Howard, thank you very much. And we'll take some questions.
Tennessee is a great place to live.
Maybe I'll
one of my favorite states.
And you can,
in the Midwest, if you would consider that.
Also, Lindsay, you work with Will.
Lunchbox, you're in Kentucky, right?
Lawyers, as you all know by now. Thank you, Mr. President.
You gotta go try some Kentucky Fried Chicken there. I heard it's extra good there.
We also have a special guest with us today, sir.
Oh, that's right. Annette Albright. Where is Annette? Annette Albright. Charlotte Mecklenburg, school teacher.
The temperature here was like 71 before. Now it's getting really hot.
Awards for talent. That's good. Thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, please.
Sir, the first executive order we have prepared for your attention. There are currently laws.
Thank you, man. Thank you for subscribing too.
Disclosures of universities when they accept.
I'm just gonna play this a little bit more, and then I'm gonna go do what I gotta do.
For example, Harvard have routinely violated this law, and this law has not been effectively enforced. So this executive order charges your department.
Shout out to Bluegrass State.
Enforcing the laws on the books with respect to foreign gifts to American universities.
Okay, thank you.
Kentucky Colonel Aaron Sanders, brilliant in business.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We'll put it right here.
Next for you, sir, university accreditation is currently a process controlled by a number of third-party
Actually, you're wrong. MAGA hats are made in America, but this guy knows nothing.
Accreditors have relied on sort of woke ideology to
This shows his intelligence.
instead of accrediting based on merit and performance. This executive order affects a number of changes to the university accreditation process. Also applies to law schools and other sort of graduate
Thank you,
programs.
Lunchbox. I appreciate your good commentary as well. Very interesting person to talk with.
On the merit and the actual results that these universities are providing, as opposed to how woke these universities have gotten. So we're setting up new accreditation pathways. We're charging the Department of Education to really look holistically at this accreditation mess and hopefully make it much better.
Will we look into the past people that they've taken? For instance, I hear all about certain great schools, and then we read where they're going to teach people basic math that we can all do very easily, but they can't do. They're, going to the top school, and they're going to...
Yeah, they're made in the U.S., but this guy's never been in the States before, and he keeps talking about how much he hates Trump. He's not even from the USA. Why is he commenting on our politics? He's ashamed of his country. He won't tell us where he's from either.
Whether that's in their actual instructional activities, that's certainly something that accreditors should be considering. That right now we believe they're not doing a good enough job of. I think Secretary McMahon could probably speak to that a bit better than I could.
So they're allowing people into school that can't do math, and yet kids who've worked really hard and number one in their class in a high school someplace in New Jersey or in Mississippi, they can't get into the best schools. What is that all about?
Yeah, and I think that gets to your policy, sir, of meritocracy, that we should be looking at those who have real merit to get in, and we have to look harder at those universities that aren't enforcing that.
Okay, thank you. And this pretty much does it, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Sir, during your first administration, you made promoting historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, a major priority. This executive order takes existing law on HBCUs and brings it into effect. We're going to be setting up a White House initiative on HBCUs. The basic idea here is making sure that every aspect of your administration is working to ensure that HBCUs are able to do their job as effectively and as efficiently as possible.
Okay.
This next executive order relates to artificial intelligence education, sir. You've obviously done a lot in the artificial intelligence space already. The basic idea of this executive order is to ensure that we properly train the workforce of the future by ensuring that school children, young Americans are adequately trained in AI tools so that they can be competitive in the economy years from now into the future as AI becomes a bigger and bigger deal.
That's a big deal because AI is where it seems to be at. We have literally trillions of dollars being invested in AI. And somebody today, a very smart person, said that AI is the way to the future. I don't know if that's right or not, but certainly very smart people are investing in it heavily.
No auto
Next, sir,
pen.
we have an executive order on workforce development. This executive order is going to charge numerous departments and agencies within the government to reshape the way that we do workforce development. One example from the executive order, for instance, we're looking to get the total number of apprenticeships, new apprenticeships, up to 1 million in the country to ensure that in critical jobs areas, in areas where we currently don't have enough trained workers, that we're recreating that pipeline to ensure that, particularly as we onshore industrial jobs and new industries, that those industries have the workforce they need to be competitive globally.
Okay. very important.
And this is the EO that we're all here working together.
And in a way, this is like a training center, right, for what we're trying to do, which is jobs at great salaries. These are great salaries, too.
Right, it's exactly. So all those factories that you're bringing in because of your trade policy are going to train people in trade craft, bring back trade craft to America so that people can work in these factories with great paying jobs, and we're going to train them, and we're going to remake the American dream for all these people. We're working together.
That's right.
Right, Lori?
Absolutely. This plays right into America at Work Tour, which I have kicked off. We will work with our state partners and work with our businesses to see exactly who they need in that workforce, and we will skill and upskill these apprentices so they can get right to work and get in the field and build back this economy for exactly living the American dream. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Next, sir, we have an executive order on school discipline policies. Under, I believe it was the Biden administration, first Obama and then Biden, the Department of Justice issued guidance that made it almost impossible for schools to enforce adequate disciplinary policies. This created issues in the classroom for teachers and students alike. Basically, they focused on CRT and sort of diversity ideology instead of actually just enforcing the rules in classrooms to ensure a safe learning environment. This executive order revokes that prior guidance and puts us back in a place where hopefully the Department of Education can focus on education and teachers can focus on teaching in a safe environment.
And this was important for you, Linda, as I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely, because it gives teachers the authority now to have discipline in their classroom and discipline the person who is being disruptive. We took that away.
Okay. Nice. Hey, Linda, you should hold that.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order on disparate impact theory. This is a theory that underlies a lot of the modern DEI and CRT-driven diversity culture. The basic idea here is instructing your departments and agencies to no longer rely on disparate impact theory as they're regulating, as they're issuing guidance, as they're making rules. We want to focus on results. We want to focus on actual fairness. We want to focus on merit, not things like disparate impact theory and the whole sort of diversity, equity, and inclusion cult.
Are you tired of winning yet? I'm going for more.
For a long time. Okay. Thank you. Very good job.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Appreciate it.
Very much. Would you like to introduce again Annette, and perhaps Annette wants to say something? How we can do that? Annette is right here.
Yes, Annette. Yes, please come over. Would you like to have some comments to make? I know you're a former Charlotte Mecklenburg school teacher. I'm a North Carolina girl, so
yes,
it's
New
nice to hear. Yes,
Yes.
New Bern.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. This has been the 8-year journey for me to raise awareness to the violence that's in public schools and the critical need to address violence in public schools. Again, been doing it 8 years because most administrations like to keep the violence hidden. We have 3 students that should be here with us today. We have Austin McCalf, I'm sorry if I say his name wrong, Serenity Baker, and Nazir Taylor from Charlotte, North Carolina, who was shot in the back as he was getting off of a school bus because they thought he was a part of a big brawl that happened inside a public high school. So this is very important and critical legislation that we have to keep our educators safe, we have to keep our students safe, and public schools have to be safe environments. So I think, like I said, I've done this journey alone, I've been on it, but I have a whole team behind me now. I spoke at the RNC and I told millions that Donald Trump and his administration was going to make schools great again, and I feel that we're on the right path, and I'm just honored to be here.
Thank you. Moving just to the our great vets that are with us. And is it okay if I give her one? What do you think?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
What an honor.
Great job. Could I ask Sarah to speak, Gerardo?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about these great gentlemen.
These heroes, Mr. President, are extraordinary. This is my husband, Michael, and so many of our dear, dear friends who are here today. Many of them have met you, sir, in your first administration in the hospital, many times at Walter Reed.
Right.
And they've had long recoveries. Tomorrow, for my husband, marks 15 years since he was wounded in Afghanistan. And on that day, about 6 years ago, he had his 120th surgery post-Afghanistan. And you came to see him at Walter Reed and so many others. And we saw great reform in the VA, access, same-day access to prosthetics, mental health care, and we know that that is back. We're going to, these gentlemen were saying, Alex here earlier was saying, in the last few years when he's gone to get a wheelchair, the VA has asked him, this gentleman, they've asked him to prove that he still has his injuries, as though maybe his limbs would grow back. And they unfortunately did not. Yes, and we've seen that many times. And so we're excited for you bringing back the VA accountability, Mission Act, community care, that were the hallmark of your first term. And we're so excited, sir, to be here. We're honored to be here. And thank you for all you do for our nation's heroes.
Thank you. Who's that picture on there?
That is Joe Biden, and it says, "Let's go, Brandon."
I'm saying, what was that picture? That's great.
I told him he wasn't allowed to ask you to sign it.
That's very good. Well, thank you all very much. Would you like to say anything, fellas? There's a big chance. You have a lot of good people watching that believe in you. They happen to be the media, but they believe very much in you, like I do. Anybody?
Mr. President, we're very happy with the energy that this administration is bringing, and it's an administration that does what it promises, and so we're behind you. We believe in you, and I think we all love you. You guys speak for everybody.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to get you a better hat. Say I have better hats. That's a good one. That was the original.
It was.
That means he was there,
I've been wearing it before it was cool.
That's right. That's an early one. We'll save that one though, right?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anybody, please?
Well, I'd like to say. I was just going to say thank you for loving America, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. Thank you very much. True. Thank you.
Sir, then just go save Michael Broder's life. And of course, he goes immediately to say thank you, as he was the one that saved Michael Broder, put him in the helicopter, and got him off the combat zone. Wow. So the selflessness of these men is unspeakable.
That's great. So,
Yeah, he's alive because of that man right here.
That's very good. These are amazing people, great heroes, so that's really great. Anybody else? Yes.
I'd like to say it was an honor to serve. You're worth it. This country's worth it.
Thank you for serving our country, Ernie.
Thank you. And we have a spirit that people haven't seen in many years.
Foreign nationals like the ones in my comments hate it, but I thank you for your service. You probably killed some of their family in war, so thank you very much.
What they've done to the borders, what they've done all over the place, and it's really an honor to be with you, all of you. Incredible. And I'm going to give you these coins. I think you're going to really like them. I think they're the best. These are the best coins. And you have each yours. This is gunmetal. I don't know, soldiers like the black, but I think you like this one. It's okay. A lot of soldiers like the black. Here you go. What do you like?
I'll go to black.
Yeah. See, I told you. I heard that. These are choices.
I'll take a black one, sir.
Okay, look at this. That rarely happens. You're different, huh?
Take a black one, sir.
There you go. That's great.
It's called the military.
No, but it's that I always say the soldiers, they do like it's gunmetal. What do we like here?
That's what I heard, that it was gunmetal.
Gold is. I'm giving him two.
We have 3 girls. They're going to
This one
fight.
right here. We'll get another one too. Okay. This is actually fun.
I'll take the gold, Mr. President.
Okay, I thought you were going to take that gold one. Okay.
Gold one, sir.
Okay, you got it.
I had an opportunity to sail across the Gulf of America 2 days after you named it right.
Oh, wow. Isn't that great? It's been an honor. And now people say it routinely.
Yeah.
They don't even think
Thank
about
you
it,
for
but
your
they say it
parents for
routinely.
serving in the
That's a
military.
great honor for me. Okay. Okay.
Take a gold ones.
Okay. Almost even. I think gold is an edge.
I got a little bit tired of retards, so I just kicked Onyx Orin out.
At the end, right?
He can't comment anymore. He's just forced to watch Trump.
So I want to thank you very much, and especially that's a great story. Yeah. So what do you think of a guy like that? Pretty
Yeah,
good.
avoid American products because you can't afford them anymore because of tariffs.
Wow.
And Jared over there.
So you guys, so you guys
Unfortunate, you're too poor to afford American products anymore with the new tariffs. I'm sorry, you can no longer go to McDonald's.
Their unit had a more than 50%
It's now $300 in your country.
2010.
You deserve it. You deserve that and more. We appreciate it so much. Brave, really brave, brilliant people. Thank you very much.
Yes, you do pay tariffs. You pay them and you pay them.
Thank you to the veterans.
And you
Thank
pay
so much
them.
for defending us. And then I wanted to ask you, Mr. President, because you said
I kicked him out too. I was kind of bored of all of his comments. He's just repeating himself over and over again.
the tariffs.
He's too stupid to know that we tariffed his country, so now he has to pay for American products.
Very, very great.
Extra,
The
extra.
United States of America, and it's been ripped off for years and years. These people know it. We talked about it before you came in. We've been ripped off by every country in the world practically, and friend and foe. And we're not doing that anymore. So what's happened is Howard, how many countries have we spoken to already? 90.
You're right, Lou, and hit the like and subscribe button for Trump.
They all want to make deals, and we're going to make deals, but they're going to be fair deals. They're not going to be rip-off deals. And, we were losing almost $5 billion a year. No country can do that. And now we have it down almost to even, maybe even better than even, because of the tariffs on cars and aluminum and steel. We have tariffs 25% on cars, aluminum and steel. There's a rush to build new steel plants, a rush to build new aluminum plants, and a biggest rush I've ever seen, that we've ever seen.
I just kicked them out from commenting because they were so stupid. They were just saying the same thing over and over again.
Maybe you won't want to work, you'll do something else instead of that.
Like he was just saying the same thing over and over again. I really didn't even care. It was just annoying at that point. No one believes him and no one cares what he has to say. This is my channel.
They're coming back, don't forget.
So I figured he's pretty useless. He's already said everything he keeps repeating, so I already won the argument. It's over.
Remember this number, anywhere from $3 to $5 billion a day. That's not $1 million, that's $1 billion a day. Nobody can even imagine it. And that's what we were losing. And, hence we have $36 trillion in debt and everything else. And in the end, I think what's going to happen is we're going to have great deals. And by the way, if we don't have a deal with a company or a country, we're going to set the tariff. We just set the tariff. It's something that we think.
Hey, man, yeah, he's off.
Couple of weeks, wouldn't you say? I think so. Over the next 2-3 weeks, we'll be setting the number, and we're going to pick. Could be for China too. Could be for China. Well, we're dealing with almost all of them. Too many to fully deal with, but we're going to be fair to them. But we're dealing with a lot of countries right now, and could be with China, but maybe we'll make a special, a deal, and we'll see what it will be. Right now, it's 145%. That's very high. It got there because of the fentanyl. They're sending, massive amounts of fentanyl into our country and killing a lot of people, probably 200,000 plus a year, wiping them out. You probably all have friends who were killed, somebody was killed in your family or your friends with fentanyl, and somehow it's made almost exclusively in China. And as you know, we essentially taxed them 10 and then another 10. We also taxed Mexico 25 and we taxed Canada 25. And that's the kind of money that's what's pouring into our country right now. And it's gotten us down from losing $3 to $5 billion a day to actually making money, but breaking even, let's say, but we're going to make a lot of money. And that money is going to be used to reduce taxes. We're going to get big, big tax breaks.
All right, guys, that's all for today. Smash the like and subscribe button. Much appreciated. Hope you are well as Manchu. No more petroleum-based coloring. I really appreciate all you guys. Ernie, Manchu, Alice. The future looks bright. Charles, Louis, anyone else watching? Lunchbox, if you're still here, thank you all for tuning in. Much appreciated. See you guys another day, another time. And thank you for watching. Peace out. Take it easy, Manchu. Take it easy. Have a great day as well, everyone.